Hello, everybody. Just a quick announcement. If anybody's parked on the north side of the parking lot, people that are parked there will be towed. So please move your vehicle, okay? North side, you walk out the main entrance, and then it's right. That way is north. Get what I'm saying? Yeah, going towards the bridge. That's the easy way to put it. Okay, thank you guys. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Next Generation of Leaders Symposium. My name is Caden Dunn. I was born and raised here in Prince Albert, and I am a third-year nursing student with the University of Saskatchewan.
And my name is Brent Balderall. I am also a third-year nursing student from the University of Saskatchewan. I was born in the Philippines and moved to Prince Albert when I was 10, and I've called this community home ever since. We will be your MCs for this afternoon, and we are excited to welcome you to today's event. Before we begin, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we are gathered on today. As we gather here today, we acknowledge that we live and learn on Treaty 6 territory, which is the ancestral homeland of the Métis, Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota peoples. We honor the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this land, and we recognize the responsibilities that come with learning, leading, and building community on this shared territory as we reaffirm our relationship with one another. As students and future leaders, we are reminded that learning happens not only in classrooms, but through listening, relationship building, and respecting the histories and voices of the people who have stewarded this land long before us. We would like to take a moment to sincerely thank all of our sponsors for their generous support and partnership. Your contributions have made today's event possible and continue to support opportunities for students in our community. Our sponsors are listed in your handbills. Please take a moment during the break to visit them and thank them for their continued support.
We would also like to extend a warm welcome to our senior, high school, and post-secondary students. We are excited to have students joining us from right here in Prince Albert, as well as those who have traveled from outside the community to be with us today. Let's give everyone a big round of applause. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. Bathrooms are located just to the left as you walk in the main doors. I'm sure many of you saw them as you came in the building. Emergency exits are located just to your right and to your left. Hopefully we don't need those today, but prepare for the worst, hope for the best. We are honored to have an elder opening our event this afternoon. Following that, we will hear from our first speaker, and we will conclude the first half of the symposium with a dance performance, followed by a short break. Before we continue, we're going to pause briefly for a group photo. We ask that everyone remains seated while our photographer gets set, and as we get ready for the photo, we want to extend thanks to Sask Polytech's media production team for live streaming today's event and doing the photography. Let's hear a round of applause for our gold sponsor, Sask Polytech. I think the photo's been taken. I'm not sure where our photographers are, but we'll say it's been taken. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Everyone received a scratch ticket when they came in. Did everybody see the scratch tickets we had at the front? Do we have any winners so far? We got some winners. See some hands up. Nice, nice, awesome, awesome. Glad to see it. Being a student isn't always easy, and today is about celebrating you and everything you've accomplished. If your scratch ticket says you're a winner, you can head to the door prize area just to the right of the entrance as you walk in to pick up your prize immediately after the event. Please note that prizes won't be distributed during the break. Use that time to check out our amazing sponsorship booths. Furthermore, all post-secondary students will also receive a grand prize entry. If you haven't already, please be sure to fill it out and drop it in the draw bin in the main lobby during the break. We will be drawing our grand prizes to close out this event today. You will need to be present to win and be able to prove you're currently enrolled as a post-secondary student to claim the prize.
This afternoon is a gift to us all. A time to listen, to learn, and to gain insight from those who share their knowledge and lived experiences with us. To begin our events in a good way, we are honored to welcome Elder Liz Sati, who will be opening our gathering with a few words. Before Elder Liz begins, we would like to present her with a small gift as a token of our gratitude and respect. Please join us in warmly welcoming Elder Liz.
Tansei, good afternoon. Leadership convention. I had the wonderful experience. It was quite a few years ago. I was much younger, probably 30-some years ago, and I was working in a restaurant in Vancouver, at Beano's in West Van. And I got the night shift because I was just starting, and I was, night shift, what do you do? Well, when the patrons leave, the boss said to me, or the owner said to me, I'd like you to clean the kickboards underneath the benches. And I'm like, oh yeah, grub job, down there, hands and knees. And about 15 minutes later, he got down there and started cleaning with me. And he said, I will never ask you to do anything that I myself am not willing to do. And that was a lesson that has really stuck with me. And I feel that there is a difference between a boss and a leader. A boss can tell you to do this, that, and everything else, and you don't see them. But a leader will walk with you through that journey, and they will guide you, and they themselves will get down and get in the mud with you. So I hope that resonates with you as it did with me. We have some beautiful leaders here that are going to be presenting later, and I feel that we all have the potential to be a leader. But what kind of leader do you want to be? Many of you out here, you're a future generation. You're going to be leaders whether you know it right now or not. And what kind of leader do you want to be? I think you'll be great leaders. And I think there's a lot to be learned this afternoon. And there's a lot to be gained just from the experiences of other people. So I'm just going to do a short thank you, Creator, for lending us the day to be in this room together, that we can learn from each other. I ask that you open our ears so that we can hear what we need to hear, and open our hearts that we take some of these lessons with us, and that we are able to talk about them after and see which way we want to go in our direction. And I ask that you guide us, Creator, in that direction and our journey forward. Look after us while we're in this physical world, and keep us on a good path with many and much happiness. Hi, hi. Hi, what's your name? Tyler. Liz. Pleasure to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Elder Liz. Our next speaker is Tyler Smith. Tyler is a mental health advocate, public speaker, and a Humboldt Broncos survivor. Through his lived experience, he shares powerful insights on resilience, healing, and life after trauma. His presentation, Perspectives After Trauma, offers an honest and meaningful reflection on navigating adversity and mental health. Please join me in welcoming Tyler Smith.
Thanks, guys. Hello. How we doing? Come on, I need a little bit more. Yeah, it's freaking cold outside, but yeah, first off, just want to say thanks. You showed up. I understand for some of you it might be mandatory, but for not everybody in here, it's not mandatory. So you showed up, and that, for me, I know that really does mean a lot to me. I really never anticipated doing this, and it's funny, you guys actually frighten me. I've done this like 250 times, and believe it or not, well, I guess you guys aren't kids, but kids frighten me the most. Are we good? Kids frighten me the most. I once spoke for a high school, and this kid came up after me, and he goes, "You stand with your knees back," and then he walked away. I should probably stand behind the podium, and then, but I'll get moving. You're probably thinking to yourself, oh, he's thinking about what he's going to say next. No, I'm thinking to myself, like, bend your knees, man. Like that kid is living rent-free in your brain every single time. Same thing, and then another time, a kid came up to me. I told that story, and I was like, kid came up to me, didn't shake my hand. He looked at me, he was like, "You do stand with your knees back," and then he just walked away. I don't know what it is. Kids are brutally honest, but I also love being able to, I just love being able to do this, and I love being able to obviously be here for you today. There's been a lot that I've learned over the last 7.5 years of my life, a lot related to this wild world of, mental health and storytelling and trauma and grief. And, as much as we are talking about tougher topics today, I also want you to leave today feeling like hopeful and like feeling like inspired and feeling like also that your story matters too. I want to remind you today that this is just purely my story. This is just purely the last 7.5 years of my life and what I've learned. We've probably all heard the quote, "Comparison is the thief of joy." It's true. The last thing I want you to do as you sit in your chair today is like compare your story and like dissect and be like, well, I didn't go through what he went through, so like, what am I going to get through from today? I want you to find a common ground. I really hope that you do have that moment of like, oh, I kind of needed that. Wow. Because let's be honest, it's been a hard couple of years for a lot of people. And one thing that we're very good at as individuals in this life is like diminishing our own story. Is thinking to ourselves, well, I know somebody that's got it worse and I know somebody that's got it better, so like, why would I take care of my own stuff? I hope today that you do get to that point of like, yeah, you know what, I kind of needed that perspective shift that sometimes it comes when you least expect it. Now, like I said, this is the last thing I ever anticipated doing in this life, and I want to remind you that there's a lot of power in a story. There's a lot of power in my story, but there's a whole heck of a lot of power in your story as well. And as much as this is my story, it's actually a lot about the people and the experiences I've had with people along the way. Now, I should also apologize. There was, my wife and I won the Amazing Race Canada, and what a journey, what a litmus test for your relationship. I've had a lot of wives come up to me and be like, I would have killed my husband day one. I'm glad we made it through. But anyways, I don't have a PowerPoint. I don't have like a step-by-step process of like, do this, do this, do this. I just have a story. And unfortunately, it's just me today. I got humbled really quickly. If you don't know about the Amazing Race Canada, you travel around Canada, you do these challenges with your partner. Your partner, whether it's a sibling, your wife, whoever it is. And I thought I pulled my weight. I thought I did my job. And I got humbled really quickly. I was in Guelph, Ontario one time. And this lady came up to me after my talk, and she beelined it for me. Didn't shake my hand again. And she goes, the only reason that you won the Amazing Race Canada is because of your partner, Kat. And I was like, whoa, okay, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for listening to me speak. And then her friend was like, do you want a picture with Ty? And then she said no and stormed out. So as much as I don't have a presentation today, I should probably have a disclaimer of like, sorry, it's just me today. But there's 3 things in my life that have forever changed. The importance of connection, conversation, and perspective. Now, I want to remind you today that there is connections in your life, there's connections in this room that can lead to those conversations that can really help shift your perspective. And I'd love to know how many perspective shifts I've had over the last 7.5 years of my life. But I want to illustrate the fact that you can connect with people in this life who you never thought you'd be able to connect with through 5 people that I've met along the way. 5 people. Now, the first one is a 12-year-old farmer I met in Winnipeg, Manitoba for a Cargill event. Even though I've done this a fair amount of times, I still have an immense amount of imposter syndrome of like, what are you doing? Like, why are you up there sharing your story? Like, why do people care about what you're going to say? I still have that. And I went up into this room and there was 150 farmers in the room. Like full blown, like just got out of the fields with their Wranglers on, their cowboy boots on. And I'm going to talk to these guys about like mental health and trauma and grief. The median age in that room was like 55 years old. And I went up there, and to my left at one of the tables, there was a 12-year-old farmer, 12-year-old boy. And I made a little pact with myself from the jump. I was like, you need to go to that boy. As soon as my talk ended, I went right to that little man, and I said, appreciate you coming, little man. Like, what's your name? And it was like 2 seconds into me saying that this little boy just like burst into tears. Like I said, now by no means do I hope that everybody in this room cries today. I actually don't like making people cry, but I also understand that like sometimes you need an emotional release. I later found out that that 12-year-old boy was already in line to take over the family farm. Listen, at 12 years old, I was trying to figure out how to boil water to make Kraft dinner. Like, I ain't taking over no family farm. Like, this kid went to school every day until 3 p.m., and then he was like in the fields, like on equipment, helping out, probably fixing stuff. That kid had a lot on his plate. And for me, the two things that I hope shine through today are relatability and authenticity. And I think for me, through storytelling, you instantly gain empathy for a storyteller when they're telling that story. And also the relatability piece. I'm now realizing that that is a 12-year-old farmer that's got a lot on his plate, but now I can relate to him on the simple aspect of storytelling and mental health. Now, the next person I'll tell you about, it was COVID, doing this virtual speech. And, you know, virtual speeches are tough sometimes. The whole time, this kid was head down in his phone, didn't care. I thought. Wrote this kid off. We've all heard the quote, "Don't judge a book by its cover." I instantly looked at that kid and I was like, this kid doesn't care what I'm saying. That's okay. Sometimes there's a moment where you just like don't connect, and that's perfectly fine. I finished up my talk, I closed my laptop, and I'm not kidding, it was 2 minutes after that I got a message from that boy, and he shared his entire story. Just like that. The relatability piece. And being able to connect with people in this life that you never thought you'd be able to connect with. Now, the next person I'll tell you about is a man I met in Fort Francis, Ontario. So it was an Indigenous man that I met, and I did this talk, and before they did their drumming performance, it was amazing. And, you know, I personally don't have an Indigenous background, but as soon as my talk ended, kind of same thing, theater like this, they sat front row. And question period opened up, and he put his hand up. The main guy of the drumming group put his hand up. He said, "You talk a lot about best man. You talk about a lot about like your best men and like the people in your life." He said, "I want you to know that I unfortunately just lost my best man at my wedding 2 weeks ago after he took his own life. I want to know how to move forward. I want to know if you can move forward. How do you do this?" It blew me away. Because now, like I said, I'm now connecting with this man who just unfortunately lost his best man around that simple aspect of connection. I've jumped off this stage, I gave him the biggest hug. I don't even know this man, but I am so proud of him for being able to do that day. Last person I'll tell you about is an 80-year-old man I met in Wetaskiwin, Alberta. And I did this is by no means me like boasting about how much I've talked. No, this is just like the simple aspect of like the people I've met along the way. And afterwards, an 80-year-old man came up to me, 80 years old. This is a man that has a full lived experience on this earth. At the time I spoke, I think I was 24 years old. Okay, I got a little bit of life experience, but afterwards he came up to me and he said, "I want you to know that I just lost my wife, and grown men cry too. So thank you for what you're doing." It kind of blew me away because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm 24. Like, how are we connecting around this? I did that exact same talk the next year. You know who showed up? That man, Don Proudlock. He came up to me and he said, "I heard you were coming to town. I had to come and see you. I want you to know that I bought a dog and I bought a kayak and I'm doing well." Why did it bring me so much joy knowing that I've only met this man once and now he's hopefully out there in the spring and summer on his kayak with his little puppy on the front, finding some joy again. I hope today that you could have that moment. I regularly get asked the question of, why do you keep doing this? I probably understand that there's a day that I'll wake up and I'm like, I'm tired. I don't think anybody cares about what I want to say anymore. I should probably find a job. And I actually did get to that point. I moved to Calgary, and I'm a horrific self-promoter. I moved to Calgary, and I wasn't getting any like events or engagements. And I looked at my wife and I said, I need to find a job. And I applied for a job at Lululemon, and I didn't get it. And now I'm here. One of my favorite quotes is, "Difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations," and honestly, my beautiful destination, as cold as it is outside, is here today with y'all. But I regularly get asked that question of, why do you keep doing this? I've come to terms with two answers. Now, the first answer is a little bit of a selfish answer, but it relates to grief. Now, I had an older lady come up to me and she said, "Our biggest fear with loss is forget. We never want people to forget our people. Grief is unfortunately something that we all know far too well in this world. And for me, I now realize that the number one reason I do this is I want you to acknowledge that day. I want you to acknowledge the people that we lost that day, the people that were involved that day, the families that were involved that day. When I speak for kids, I understand that these kids don't remember that day, and that's not their fault. They were just too young. But I will hold on to the hope that they will go to the dinner table that night with mom and dad and ask about that day. I want you to acknowledge that day. It's a little bit of a selfish answer on my end, but it's the number one reason as to why I keep doing this. The second reason is I'm going to forever hold on to the hope, as cliche as it sounds, that even just one person in here has that conversation. Because this wild world of mental health is so annoying sometimes. It's frustrating, it's emotional, it's unique, it's weird, and it's hard to have those conversations. But I will forever hold on to the hope that even just one person in here, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, is going to have that conversation. Because you're allowed to. I shouldn't be the one giving you that allowance, but I will forever hold on to the hope that that happens. Now, I'm going to start with a quote. This quote relates to authenticity and relatability, and something I do hope shines through today. And it's the only thing I'll read today. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Choosing authenticity means, number one, cultivating the courage to be imperfect, to set boundaries, and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Number two, exercising the compassion that comes from knowing that we are all made of strength and we are all made of struggle. And number three, nurturing the connection and sense of belonging that can only happen when we believe that we are enough. Authenticity demands wholehearted living and loving, even when it's hard, even when we're wrestling with the shame and fear of not being good enough, and especially when the joy is so intense that we're afraid to let ourselves feel it. That's all I got. Thanks. No, I'm kidding. Okay, I got a couple chuckles. Once again, I try that with kids and I get nothing. Like not one chuckle. It's usually like, we were promised an hour assembly and you're just done. But truly, thank you so much for being here. My name is Tyler Smith. I grew up in Leduc, Alberta. I'm an Oilers fan. Yes, that was a little too late. What are we, Flames fans in here? No. Leafs? Okay, yeah, okay. Anyways, I am an Oilers fan, and I'm also a proud mama's boy. I love my mama. Yeah, I love that, yeah. I grew up with my mom, my older brother, and my dad. And I will be the first one to tell you that I'm a proud mama's boy. I love my mom. I talk to my mom every single day. It's funny, I have a group chat with my older brother who's 29, myself who's 27, and our mom. Now, our mom named this group chat, you know what she named it? My Babies. I usually have moms in the audience being like, yeah, you will always be our babies. My brother and I are probably like, okay, we're 27 and 29, we're not your babies anymore, Mom, but we will always be her babies. And every single night, when my mom goes to bed, usually at like 8:45 p.m., so early, she will send a text. She will say, good night, I love you guys, through dreams, I love you guys, red hearts, gifts, emojis, the whole thing. This My Babies group chat is literally just like good night text, good night text, good night text. Now, no matter what me and my brother are doing in this world, no matter where we are, no matter what's going on, no matter who we're with, my brother and I will always respond. That's a simple message that always goes a long way in keeping our connection alive with our mama. Now, I love my dad. My dad is the epitome of a man. My dad used to bodybuild. He once bench pressed like 450 pounds. My dad has worked in farming, oil and gas, construction, mechanics, like everything. We go quadding and camping in the summertime and go snowmobiling in the wintertime. My dad loves when something breaks down. My dad's like, I got the tool back at camp, perfect. Like, my dad is that guy. But if my dad walked in here right now, none of you would realize that my dad is an amputee. My dad lost his leg 30 years ago in a workplace accident. Below knee. I've never seen my dad with two legs. But it's never got to a point where it's like, oh, I wish my dad had two legs right now. No, it's never got to that point. My dad has always shown up. My dad is one of my biggest role models, biggest inspirations. My dad has done everything, can do everything, and will always show up. But now one of my favorite TV shows is Ted Lasso. If you've seen it, perfect. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. You don't even have to love like football or soccer, or whatever you want to call it. It is a phenomenal, just human show. And he goes on this long rant in the bar one time while he's playing darts with Rupert, and he says, be curious, not judgmental. I was never curious as to how that day 30 years ago impacted my dad, how that day made him the man he is today, the husband he is today, the brother, the friend, the parent he is today. I was never that curious, and now I am. Now, I got an older brother too. I love my older brother. He was the best man at my wedding. But growing up, my brother was the classic older sibling that would always say, go get your own friends when I wanted to hang out with him. I'm now super proud to say that I have so many more friends than him. Younger siblings, it always comes full circle. But truly, I love people. The third reason as to why I keep doing this, people. People always bring me back. It's fascinating the amount of, conversations I've had with people that just like fill your soul. And obviously, like, we experience the real good of people, the love and support. And in one way, do I think that I need to always constantly give back to people because of how much love and support we receive? Probably. But for me, I love people. And that transition into my role as like the glue guy in the dressing room, I guess you could call it. Now, if you know, there's a couple hockey websites, Hockey DB and Elite Prospects, that'll tell you the stats of every single hockey player that's ever played the game. When you get your phone back after this, don't look me up. I'm not that guy. I'm not Connor McDavid. I'm not Austin Matthews. I'm not that guy. I'm a dressing room guy through and through. Yeah, I'll go out and do my job and block a shot and do whatever. I'm a dressing room guy. I will forever want to make or break a game and like create that space for my teammates beforehand, in between intermissions, whatever it is. I now coach 12 to 13-year-olds. You know what I've realized from 12 to 13-year-olds is how much we value recognition and validation and reassurance. Now, it's funny because you'll probably never go to your boss or your teacher or your parent and be like, hey, can you validate me right now? Can you recognize me right now that I'm doing the right thing? But when it comes, it really feels good. Now, being a dressing room guy, you didn't get that, and that's fine. I didn't think I needed it. I found my way in Humboldt, Saskatchewan. Now, even on the drive. So from my house in Leduc, Alberta to Humboldt, Saskatchewan is a 6-hour drive. You know how many turns it is? 3. Listen, I know we're in the prairies, and I know you guys know about these drives, but like I did not know about these drives, and that drive is Lloydminster, North Battleford, Saskatoon, Humboldt. Whoa, where'd the time go? On my way, I'm in between North Battleford and Saskatoon. I'm all excited for this new opportunity. I'm bumping some tunes. And all of a sudden, all 5 of my lug nuts in my front left tire just like snap in half on the highway. Now, I always tell kids it's never a good thing when your tire is going quadruple the speed of you on the highway. I pulled over, I ran across the highway, I grabbed my tire out of the median, I rolled it back to my car, and I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, what am I gonna do right now? I'm in the middle of nowhere, Saskatchewan. I don't know anybody. I know how to change a tire. I can't change this one. And my dad originally said, why don't you go try out in North Battleford? Now, North Battleford had one of my best friends that I grew up playing with, playing there. A lot about today is being able to give everyone you meet a chance, like a genuine chance. Coach Darcy Hogan, who is no longer with us today, the coach of the Humboldt Broncos, is, believe it or not, the only coach in Western Canada that gave me a chance, like a genuine chance. He said, come on out. Can't guarantee you a spot, but we'd love to see what you're all about. Come on out. I fixed my tire the next day, and I'm off to Humboldt, Saskatchewan. I look back on that tire fiasco thinking to myself, was that a sign? Was that a sign to turn around? Was that a sign to go to North Battleford? I am really glad I stuck it out. Because when I got to Humboldt the next day, let me tell you, it was that group. I'm sure some of you have heard stories about that group. Every story is true. We had so much fun together. Like every single Monday night, we would all gather around a little flat screen TV with a bottle of Jacob's Creek Moscato, because it tasted the most like juice, and we'd watch The Bachelor together. Like Tuesday nights, we'd watch Riverdale. Like any chance that we got to be together, we took. There's a core covenant that Coach Darcy created for us that sat on our wall in our dressing room every single day. The first line in that core covenant was family first. 2 words. Coach Darcy was a man of faith and a man of family. It was so evident. For us, we had kids from Slave Lake, Winnipeg, Edmonton, all over. So for us, every day that we walked in that dressing room, this is our family now. I got a tattoo on my right forearm that says, it's a great day to be a Bronco, gentlemen. Something that Coach Darcy would just come into the room and just say. You hear that over and over again, it becomes ingrained in you. Now, I want to fast forward to a time where I experienced mental health. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I now look back on that and be like, wow, I wish you would have went about that in a different way. Because I showed up to the rink and I went mute. I literally was like, okay, what are you doing? You're 6 hours away from your family. You're 6 hours away from your home. You're playing like 4 to 6 minutes a night sometimes. You got to be this fun, bubbly, loving person all the time. What are you doing? So I showed up to practice. I showed up to workout. I didn't talk to anybody, and I went home. Just 2 days straight. Just didn't talk to a soul. I was like, you should go home. You're not appreciated. It's just crazy what your mind does to you sometimes. It was 2 days into me doing this, 2 days into my little mute stint, and I tell this story because it encapsulates what we had in that room. 2 days into this, that I had guys come up to me and be like, nope, What's going on? We need you back. We cannot have this. Smitty, what do you need? I had our captain go into the coach's office and be like, Smitty's struggling. Take me off the PK, put him on. He needs more. 2 days into that group recognizing that something is going on and we need to step in. Connection thrives when people show up for each other. My people, that team, showed up for every one of us. Sometimes we do need to feel seen. Sometimes we do need to feel heard. Sometimes we do need to feel loved. And in that moment, that's all I needed. Was I going to go to my teammates and be like, tell me you love me? No, probably not. But they recognized that, and it took 2 days. And I stuck around. Now, fast forward to Saskatchewan junior hockey playoffs. I'm super grateful we did not have to play Flin Flon first round. That is a scary barn to play in. I apologize if you're connected to Melfort. We did play Melfort in the first round, took good care of them. And then we're on to play the Nipawin Hawks. Now, the Nipawin Hawks, their rink is formerly known as the Cage. Does that sound like a fun place to play? It's not. The boards are like concrete, the fans are right on top of you, and they're like our biggest rival. We lost game 4 in triple overtime. Losing a game in overtime sucks. Losing a game in triple overtime is like rip your heart out and step on it. We got into the room that night, and our captain, Logan Schatz, looks at all of us and says, we're going to process this one. We're going to digest this one. That one sucked. But we're going to move on to the next game. Obviously, this is the point in the story where that next game never comes. April 6, 2018. Now, April 6, 2018 is still a day that I've had countless conversations with people that remember that day, like genuinely remember that day. Listen, I've had conversations with people that are like, I remember 2 distinct days in my life, 9/11 and April 6, 2018. It is fascinating when your day gets grouped into a day as horrific as 9/11, but it goes to show how many people were impacted that day. But let me tell you, people showed up for us. I can't speak for everybody else, but I can assure you, one of the main reasons I'm still here today is because of people and that love and support we received. Now, April 6, 2018, the worst day of my life, the day that led me to here, speaking for you all today, believe it or not, is a day that I have zero recollection of, no memory of the worst day of my life. The day we lost 16 of the most amazing people that I've ever met. I've really grappled with that, and I've struggled with that. In grief, you do want to remember the last smile, the last laugh, the last whatever it is. You do, and I can't. And I've kind of come to terms with the fact that it is a major blessing in disguise that I can't remember that day, because the mental and emotional trauma from that day, I can't even imagine. I can't. Now, believe it or not, whenever I go talk to kids, I give a weird piece of advice. I would ask you guys this question, but I think most people would answer correctly. We all know a phone number, right? We all have a memory of a phone number, mom or dad, right? Yeah, okay. When I ever go talk to kids, I give that weird piece of advice of remember a phone number. Now, I was taken up in an air ambulance that day, and I actually met the EMS worker that took care of me that day. I literally looked at him, I was like, Mitchell, I have no idea, thank you. I just gave him a big hug. I have no idea what to say to you. But he reiterated this story. And nowadays, kids can just, you could say the old, hey, Siri, I don't want to trigger all your phones, but you know what I'm about to say, or you can just call somebody, click a button, you're calling, that's it. At the time, my parents and my brother were on their way to pick up my brother's brand new Duramax truck. Life was good, and then they got a text, and obviously things start to unravel. I'm taken up in that air ambulance, and I suffered a stroke that day, and a stroke obviously does a lot to your mind. And I'm very, very grateful with where I'm at. But thank goodness my mom has had the same phone number since I could possibly remember. My dad has changed his number 6 or 7 times. But my mom has had that same phone number, and I'm able to riddle off my mom's phone number of 780-975. Yeah, I'm not going to give you my mom's phone number. Usually get a couple people perk up and be like, whoa. Usually I get a kid be like, hey, can I get the last 4 digits to that number? No. But I'm able to riddle off my mom's phone number and give them that phone call. Now, obviously, no parent ever wants that phone call. And whether I save them 2 hours, 20 minutes, 5 hours, 10 hours of not knowing, you still save that time. I'm not trying to prepare kids for the worst in this life, but there's moments in time where you need a phone number. I woke up in the hospital about 4 days later. Is it a fascinating thing when you wake up in your hospital room and you got Ron MacLean, Don Cherry, Connor McDavid, Ryan O'Reilly, Paul Brandt, Haley Wickenheiser, the Prime Minister of Canada, and you got 30 to 40 of your friends and family in your hospital room. Your mind instantly starts to wander. Now, I was in no position to process what just happened. I was on morphine drip. I was in the stroke ward as a 19-year-old kid. I suffered a broken collarbone that required surgery, led to severe nerve damage in my left arm. like many of you, I didn't know what nerve damage was. I don't wish it upon anybody. I remember I woke up and my left arm was just like dead. Couldn't move it, couldn't feel it, nothing. They give you a 1 to 2 year timeline with nerve damage. Nerves heal a millimeter a day. So I wrote a lot of things off. I was like, I'm not playing slow pitch with my buddies this summer. I'm not golfing. I'm not playing hockey next year. I wrote a lot of things off. I suffered 6 inches of my small intestine removed. I got a little scar around my belly button. I can't have popcorn now, which sucks. I suffered a broken shoulder blade, a punctured lung, and 2 broken ribs. So some of you might think to yourself as you're sitting there, whoa, that's quite a bit. No, not for me. I thought to myself, you're a man. You're a hockey player. That's nothing. You've recovered from injuries before. Put your athlete blinders on and you heal physically, and then the mental and emotional would just like creep up in behind. We're right here. Don't worry about us. Unfortunately, that's not how it goes. But for me, that's all I knew. I never understood the layers of magnitude of mental health, nor did I want to. You kidding me? For me, mental health was like shame, weakness, fear, burden, pain. I never wanted to be that friend around the campfire in the summer that starts crying and everybody's like, oh gosh, what do we do? Anybody want him? I never wanted to be that friend, so I didn't. I spent 13 days in the hospital and 13 days of wondering like, what's next? How am I gonna move forward? How do I even move? What am I gonna do? And now I'm in my own bed, and now I'm at home. But like, let me tell you, you talk about putting a mask on, you talk about suffering and for you. You follow this step by step by step, you check this box, you fill in this blank, and you're done. That's it. June 20th of 2020, you're done. You'll never have to worry about it again. I now realize that you can move forward with your stuff. You can move forward with your trauma. At the time, I wanted to move on. I just wanted to be done with it. That entire summer afterwards, I wish I would have went about things in such a different way. But for me as a glue guy, the last thing I want to do is put everything on somebody else's plate. Why would I do that? They don't understand what I went through, so the last thing I want to do is just like throw it on their plate. That's rude. That's disrespectful. I can't do that. Everybody in this room has been asked the question of, how are you doing? You know? Like genuinely, how are you doing? Talk to me. What do you need? And we've all answered with, I'm fine, I'm good, don't worry about me, taking it day by day. Whew, yeah, no, I'm fine. I was so good at those surface level conversations because I don't want to let anybody in. I got asked the question of how are you doing probably like 30 to 40 times a day, every time. Don't worry about me, it's all good. Thanks for coming by. I'm good, yeah, just taking it day by day. How are you doing is such a valuable question, but there's moments where unfortunately, I look back on that summer, and when I got asked the question of how I was doing, I actually had no idea how I was doing. So the last thing I wanted to do was like formulate a perfect answer of like, this is how I'm doing, this is what I need from you. Sometimes I do encourage you to leave it open-ended. I do encourage you with that person on the other side to be like, hey, I don't know how you're doing. I don't know what you're going through, but listen, I will be here. Like, you want to go for a coffee, you want to go for a pint, whatever you need from me, I got you. I will be here whenever that day comes. As that summer moved on, there's 2 monumental days that I will tell you about from that summer. Now, 2 monumental days. The entire summer afterwards, I couldn't cry. I'm pretty stubborn anyways, but I couldn't cry. And I thought to myself, you just lost 16 of the most amazing people that you've ever met, and you couldn't shed a tear. I thought there was something actually wrong with me. And we got to the NHL awards. Now, the NHL awards for any hockey player is like the holy grail. It's like, Taylor Hall, Connor McDavid, all the heroes and role models that you grew up watching are right in front of you. And you're in Las Vegas. But we were there to accept an award on behalf of our late coach, Darcy Hogan, with his wife and his 2 kids. And the tribute video started backstage, and you know what also started? Was my tears. I hysterically cried my eyes out on national television for like 30 minutes straight in front of all my role models and heroes. And did I think to myself afterwards, boy, oh boy, you needed that. Whoa, wow, what an emotional release. Holy smokes, you had a lot bottled up. No, I thought to myself, how embarrassing. How weak do you look? Come on, how many people are watching? So I brushed it off. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to remember that. Just keep going. The next day I will tell you about is the Humboldt Broncos home opener. Now, the Humboldt Broncos home opener, I got asked the question of what do you think is the most vulnerable emotion that you can feel as a human being? And I probably answered the exact same way a lot of you would answer. Grief, shame, sadness, anger, frustration. Believe it or not, the most vulnerable emotion that you can feel in this life is actually joy. I encourage you in this like split second to remember the last time you wholeheartedly felt joy. What a treat. How vulnerable. We don't give ourselves enough allowance to like feel joy. We don't. The entire summer afterwards, I wasn't seeking joy. I wasn't seeking connection. I wasn't a leader. I wasn't resilient. Nothing. I was a shell of myself. Had this mask on, thought nobody knew. But the community of Humboldt, that's probably exactly what they needed, was a chance for them to go to the Elgar Peterson Arena on a Friday or Saturday night and cheer on their Broncos. You know, sit in their season ticket seats with their community, cheer for their team, go to their safe place. That community went through way too much. Now, this is my first time back in Humboldt. Did I do any mental or emotional preparation for being back in Humboldt? No. I thought I could just show up. This is my second home. I got a tattoo on my left chest right here. It says, "Home is where the heart is," and it has 16 blackbirds. For me, yes. My family, home, Leduc, yes. Now, Calgary with my wife, yes. Humboldt will always be a second home for me. My heart will always be there. And now I'm back. And now I'm back in all the settings that I once craved so much, and I'm not seeing any of the faces that I wanted to see. I'm back in my billet house, and Tobes isn't upstairs. I'm back on that ice, and I don't see anybody. I'm back in my dressing room stall, and I don't got Tommy and Joey on my left and right anymore. There's so many things that I wish I knew, like I said. And at that moment, I wish I would have actually, embarked on that journey and went through that grief, but I didn't. Brush it off, you're fine. The game happened, big thing, sold out crowd, TSM was there, huge thing. And then afterwards, they roll out the red carpet and they're going to drop all the banners of everybody that we lost that day. If you do find yourself in Humboldt one day, go to the rink. I do encourage you to just see the banners. Now, I'm on that red carpet, the first banner drop with a cross on it, indicating that that person is no longer here and we're in the place that we once had so much fun together. And you know what also dropped? Me. To my knees in hysterical pain, broken, shattered. I couldn't even watch these banners drop because it was an instant indication that I'm here and they're not. Something that I now actually realize kids know about is survivor's guilt. I had no idea what it was, and I had this 14, 15-year-old girl ask a question and was like, "What do you think about survivor's guilt?" And I'm like, "How do you know what that is?" Every day that summer I asked myself, why? Why us? Why me? Why am I still here? I consume myself with the unanswerable questions, and I will never get the answer to those questions. But now I'm back in Humboldt, and I'm on that red carpet, and I can't even watch these banners drop. But after 45 minutes of crying myself all over on national television again, I don't know what it is with me in national television, did I think to myself again, boy, you needed that. Wow. You even had more bottled up this time. Jeez Louise. No. I thought to myself, you need to go back and play. You need to go back. I needed to go back for everybody that left a stick out on the porch that day, everybody that sent us a note, a donation, a gift, a message, everybody else, everybody that lost somebody that day, everybody that knew somebody that was impacted that day. This is our life and this is our journey. We have a horrific time doing things for ourselves. We're not good at feeling our joy, and we're not good at doing things for ourselves. And I wanted to go back for everybody else. And I went back. I did the first game, first bus ride, first dinner table conversation without Tobes across from me. Did a lot of things that I can now be like, good for you, man. You tried. You gave it your best shot. I'm proud of you. But I was coasting. And after 10 games, I got off the bus and I texted my parents and I said, I'm not having fun anymore. Now, I'm not a parent that I know of. Just kidding. Bad joke. Bad joke. Bad joke. And from a parent perspective, I just announced that I have lost the joy of hockey that's brought me so much joy for the last 18 years of my life. I knew I needed to go home, but I was still struggling with that. So I went to my billet parents' house that night and had a conversation that changed my life. My billet parents have billeted for 20 years. The amount of young, messy hockey players that have walked through their door, and yet every single year they're like, keep them coming, we will cook for them, we have a bed for them, we have a roof over their heads. Two of the most extraordinary people you'll ever meet. And I sat them down and I said, hey, I'm really struggling and I am so, so sorry. I think I need to go home. I don't know what to do, but I think I need to go home. It wasn't like my billet parents were like, what? Really? Gosh, you're struggling? Oh my gosh, we had no idea. No, trust me, my billet parents knew. I got a massive hug from my billet dad, and I got a massive hug from my billet mama. My billet mama's like this tall. She bear hugged me. Bear hugged me. Biggest hug I've probably ever received in my entire life. And she looked me dead in the eyes. And she said, you're going to promise me that you seek help. And I was like, whoa. I'm doing this for you. You don't want to be up here. I don't want to throw everything on your plate. Hold the phone. But it made me realize one thing, one quote that we also know, hurt people hurt people. I was so hurt, and I was starting to see the hurt in my billet parents' eyes because of my hurt. Hurt people, but also heal people as well. All my billet mom was saying to me that day is, I want Ty back. I just want my billet son back. I don't want anybody in this room to ever get to a place where it's just like, damn, I want my mom back, or I want my friend back, or I want my dad back, or I want my person back. You know, I want my student friend back. Whatever it may be, I don't want anybody in this room to ever get to that place. I need to say the 3 most vulnerable words that you can say to yourself as a human being. I need help. I can't do this alone anymore. And I needed to keep that promise. Now, there's 3 female leaders in my life. Female leaders in my life. The first one being my billet mom, because that day she led with empathy. She led with compassion. She led with emotion. And there's a connection with my billet mom that leads to that conversation that completely shifts my perspective. She's the leader in my life. I went home. I kept the promise. But now what? What am I going to do? Went to therapy. I loved it. And I still go. All my therapist did originally, she had no idea who I was. All my therapist did was create a space. Create a safe space where I felt as though I'm not alone here, and it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to struggle. All she did. I think all we aspire to do with our people is create that space for our people. Now, the second female leader in my life is my lovely wife. I slid into her DMs, and we met in Red Deer on our first date. Went for brunch. She ordered eggs Benedict without the eggs, and I thought to myself, that's a major red flag. Should I leave now? She's always like, do you want the eggs? I'm like, I don't know. She's also a Calgary Flames fan. Oof. I'll convert her one day. No, I'll convert her one day. But right from the jump, she was very open with her mental health, very open with her struggle with anxiety and depression, the fact that she's on medication. Now, it wasn't to a point where she was like forcing it on me. All she was doing was empathizing with me by sharing a little bit about her own story. I instantly gained empathy for her because of the fact that she was proud to be the storyteller of her own story in that moment. She shared with me 2 things that I'll forever remember. She shared that there's no right or wrong way to do this, but you got to start somewhere. I'll be the last person to tell you that it's all rainbows, butterflies, sunshine, and lollipops. It's not. But I want you to know that you're allowed to do what's best for you, and you're allowed to try. You're allowed to figure out what works for you. What works for me is not going to work for everybody in this room. But I do want you to try and give yourself that grace and allowance. She also shared that once you take that first step with your own mental health, you need to realize how much courage and strength and bravery is attached to that. Now, if you remember, I was always like weakness, shame, fear, burden. There's a ton of courage and a ton of strength and a ton of bravery attached to that. There's a connection with her that leads to that conversation that completely shifts my perspective. She's the second leader in my life. She led with curiosity that day. She led with compassion, and she led with empowerment. Now, I am rambling and rambling. I'll tell 2 last stories. Am I still good for time? I don't even know where to look. Anyways. All right, I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay. The third leader in my life, as you can imagine, is my mama. Now, my mama lost her mom to mental illness at 12 years old. My mom is a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. I think to myself, how do you have that perspective? She became the woman of their house to her 3 older brothers at 12 years old. She was literally cooking dinners for everybody in the house because my grandpa was working for everybody in the house at 12 years old. The fact that she has that perspective, she's a leader in my life. Am I saying that I will forever, fully 100% get to a point where it's like everything happens for a reason? Maybe not. But she lost her mom at 12. So maybe I'm one day allowed to move forward with that and get to that point. One of my favorite athletes said it perfectly, Kobe Bryant. He said, may you find the power in understanding the journey of others and helping create your own. Last story I'll share is about the Amazing Race Canada. Now, we went into this and it was just like, truly, let's have some fun. Hopefully Canada likes us. Let's make it through the first leg. And it went pretty well. And then we got to Toronto. Now, if you've ever been to Toronto, I love to visit that city, and I also love to leave that city. There is way too much going on there. And that day on the semifinal, there's 4 teams left. And it was a Leafs playoff game. It was 33 degrees, and it was a Blue Jays game. It was chaos. And the first challenge of the day was you had to rappel up this 90-foot pole. Now, 90 feet's pretty high. And there's this random OCAD Arts University in Toronto that's built up on 10 90-foot colorful poles. It's a fascinating building. First challenge, you had to rappel up that. I think to myself, all right, I've done a couple shoulder presses, a couple bicep curls in my day. I can do this. I got halfway up that pole, folks, and I was done. Done. Like completely spent. Like I have never been so physically exhausted in my entire life. And that's when the mental creeps in of like, you failed. This is your fault. Why did you do this? This is how important communication is in relationships, because my lovely girlfriend, now wife, looks up at me and she says, remember who you're doing this for. Now, I'm that weird man that has a weird relationship with my grief, a weird infatuation with birds and bunnies and dimes. Like, I'm that guy, and I'm allowed to. And I hear that, and it gives me enough strength and power to get to the top of that pole. And then I rappel down, and I knew we were in last place, and I look at our favorite producer who officiated our wedding, and I said, F this. I'm not going to say what I actually said, but I said, F this, I'm done. Leave me here. But a critical element of joy and happiness is resilience, stemming from the deepest, darkest days of your life. And in that moment, all I needed to do was just put one foot in front of the other and just get up. And remember that Kat is somebody that will forever walk me home. We got to the mat in third place, and then we're on to the finals. And then I got into the hotel room that night, and I write my little journal. I got a journal. I write my journal. I say, thank you for guiding us. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for loving us. Just one more day. That's all I needed. I was writing to my angels up top that are probably laughing at me right now, being like, what are you doing in Prince Albert right now? And in the freshly cleaned hotel room, I found 2 dimes. If you don't know, dimes and grief are very aligned. And it was an instant indication that my people are here. We got to Halifax, Nova Scotia the next day, and somehow we won the darn thing. Difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. Mental health is not a battle to be won, it is a journey to continue walking. Offer others what you have to give, your time, your storytelling, and your concern. I appreciate you showing up. I've rambled and rambled and rambled. And I have no idea if we have time for questions, so I'll let somebody else tell me that, but I am now going to be done. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. What do we got?
There's still time for 1 or 2 questions.
1 or 2 questions? Perfect. Okay, I got confirmation of 1 or 2 questions. So it's a little bit daunting to ask a question in front of a large group of people, but kids are super good at this. Kids are usually like Coke or Pepsi, coffee or tea. What's your favorite skin on Fortnite? So, any of those? Who's going to win the cup? The Oilers? I'll keep talking. Who do the Oilers got to trade for? Whew, I should have a spreadsheet. Yeah, defense and a goalie? You kidding me? Tristan Jarry's numbers are unreal. No. You know, we're kind of handcuffed with old Darnell Nurse's contract. I think if we can get like an Alex Tuck, I don't know if it's going to be possible. A nice, yeah, one of them would be phenomenal, and just another. Yeah, we're kind of handcuffed. I think we almost got to do with what we got, but you never know. Maybe they'll crunch some numbers. We got a lot of cap space next year, so you kind of almost look forward to next year. But yeah, we could talk after. We gotta, yeah, right there, yeah. Heated rivalry? You know, my wife has. My wife's sister has. My mother-in-law has. I have not yet. Not saying that I won't. It's a good question. I think it's brought a lot of new fans to the game, which is great. But I personally haven't watched it yet. Yeah, I've heard it's good. Yeah, you're nodding your head. Okay, it's good. Yeah. Yeah, maybe one day. But now everybody else around me has watched it. And so I've heard it's not a show you watch on the plane, so maybe I won't watch it tonight. Yeah, good question. Okay, that's probably it. One more? Thumbs up? Okay, one more quick one. Coke or Pepsi? Diet Coke. Oh, somebody once referred to it as a fridge cigarette, and it's so true. Like, okay, listen, I appreciate you all. I'm gonna hang around for a bit, and yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up, and much love. Appreciate you. Oh yeah, sorry, it might be sweaty.
Thank you, Tyler, for sharing your story with such honesty and strength. Your perspective on resilience, healing, and life after trauma is incredibly meaningful, and we are grateful for your willingness to share your lived experience with us today. The QR code you see on the screen at the moment, you can also find located near the grand prize drop-in. Please check it out to support Tyler's merch. Up next, we have a performance for you from the Riverside Jigging Club, located right here in Prince Albert. Let's give them a warm round of applause, please.
You guys announce it?
Yeah.
Okay, you want the mic? Should be.
Good afternoon. We are the Riverside Jigging Club. Our jigging club has been running for about 16 years and consists of students from grade 3 to 8, all on a volunteer basis. Today we will be performing 2 dances for you. The first one is the Circle of Life. This was created by some of our past jigging instructors, Miss Johnson, Miss Genero, Miss Vandale, and Miss Palmer.
Can we restart the song, please? Awesome, thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, Riverside Jigging Club, for that incredible performance. That was some pretty fancy footwork, if I don't say so myself. Watching that makes me want to start jigging, even. I laugh at my own joke. Now, please go have a break. Go check out our sponsorship booths located in the lounge area outside the theater. We will resume with our next speaker at 2:30, so if you could please be back in your seat by then, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Good.
How much time do we, or is the break?
A little over 15.
15 minutes.
Let's figure out our panel. Welcome back. I hope everyone got their grand prize entries submitted. Those that can. Seeing some head nods. Nice, nice, okay. Thank you so much to our donors and sponsors who have made today possible and provided these great door prizes for us. Next up is Cody Desmarais, an amazing Métis Award-winning entrepreneur, best-selling author, and motivational speaker from right here in Prince Albert. Cody is a member of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. Cody has spoken in 100-plus communities, sharing his raw and real story of overcoming addictions, mental health battles, and a life-altering car crash. His best-selling book, Take Back Your Life, sold over 5,000 copies, hit #1 in 3 Amazon categories, and was a 2025 Saskatchewan Book Award finalist. Cody is a proud husband and father who recently welcomed his 3rd child into the world this past week, might I add. And he is a dedicated community advocate who inspires audiences to believe in their potential and to live a limitless life. Please join us in welcoming Cody.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, handshake, you guys. Hey. How about a big round of applause for every single person that had a piece of contribution into this beautiful event? How about a big round of applause? Because there's a lot of moving parts, many different things that are happening that not everyone sees. And it is ran very smoothly, very professionally. And we all get a chance to spend an afternoon together. So full transparency, normally I have 60 minutes to share what I share with people. Today I have 30, but because I'm a risk taker, I might take 35, as long as you guys don't tell the organizer, my friend Lindsay, who just walked into the gymnasium. Okay, she said, don't do it. Okay, I promise you I won't do it, Lindsay. Okay, but what I do on a very consistent basis, I travel to a lot of places and I go share my lived experiences with addictions and mental health issues. And some of the topics that I share are heavy, but some of the topics that I do share can be inspiring for those who want to listen. Now, my mother worked at Weyerhaeuser here in Prince Albert for 28 plus years. To put that in perspective for people, I am 31. Okay, I can't imagine doing anything in my life for 28 years besides breathing at this moment. When I was about 11 years old, my mother came home from work one day. She had a letter, and this letter basically said this, even though it's blank. Dear Denise, thank you for your years of service. It has been great having you. Unfortunately, we are closing our doors, and it is time for you to move on. I remember my mother coming home being heartbroken because, like I said, you do anything for 28 plus years of your life, right out of high school. For that to be taken away from a letter, you know, even though she had thought, she had ideas about it possibly coming, it's still hard to read. Our whole lives were going to change, and I even knew as an 11-year-old young man that things were going to change in our household. I didn't know exactly how, but I knew they would change. And as the months went by after my mother losing her job, things did change. There became a scarcity in the house. There became high tension. There became high stress. We came from an abundance lifestyle beforehand where my mom could afford the extras, the sports, the clothes on my back, whatever it was, to being the opposite, where I remember what it was like looking in the cupboard sometimes, the fridge sometimes, not stating that I ever starved, because my mom did an amazing job taking care of us. But let's say she made $80,000 at this one job, okay, for years, as being one of the first females to work at Weyerhaeuser, on the floor with nothing but men, to eventually becoming a bartender and a waitress, probably not even making $30,000 at that point. So there's no doubt that a person's life is going to change when you go from here to here, still with all the same expenses, with all the same things you have to do. Thankfully, at this time, I had a very good family friend who his father owned his own business and his mother was a manager of a big company in PA. To say they were financially well off compared to us would be an understatement. They could afford different things like luxuries, that me and my family couldn't afford. One of those luxuries, thankfully enough, was season tickets to go watch the Prince Albert Raiders play hockey. Something that I truly embraced every single time that they asked if I'd be up for coming and watching a game with them, because they knew my mom couldn't afford those things. They knew that this was them taking me under their wing to go watch these games. It was a beautiful time every time I was able to say yes to them. The more and more I'd go to these games, the more and more I thought I was falling in love with hockey itself. But over the years of doing self-discovery, trying to realize why I made the decisions, the choices I made back in the day, I realized something now. I wasn't necessarily falling in love with hockey itself. I was falling in love with wanting to be a part of a community, to be a part of a tribe, to be a part of something bigger than myself. Now, I think that's ingrained in all human beings, okay? I think that's ingrained into all human beings from back when we were in caveman days, where you wanted to be in a bigger group, you wanted to be in a bigger tribe, you wanted to be in a bigger community, because that meant your chances of fighting off a saber-toothed tiger was better, right? Now, I think still, even as a young 11-year-old young man, I craved to want to be a part of a community, because all my family is Indigenous, but I didn't have a background growing up in that Indigenous lifestyle. The first time I met my biological father, I was about 15 years old, And my mother, up until this point in my life, worked as a shift worker at Warehouser all my life. And then when she lost her job, she became a bartender and waitress, working weeknights and weekends. So of course, I come from a place where I just wanted to fit in, because oftentimes I felt like I was misplaced. And so of course I come home and I ask my mom if I can play hockey, like all those guys. And once again, I remember a reaction that my mother gave me. It wasn't pure excitement, it was, oh no. And the reason is not because I didn't deserve it to play hockey. It's because my mom was paying the bills. She was putting food in the fridge and food in the cupboards. She was taking care of things she had to take care of. Never mind putting her youngest son in one of the most expensive sports a young person can play at that time, and unfortunately still is to this day. So, even at age 11, I realized something. Adversity comes into our lives at different moments. And what that means can look totally different to other people, for sure. For me, it's the first time I realized when adversity comes into our lives, we always have two choices. Two choices. The first choice is, well, we face adversity and we move on, we forget, we pretend like it doesn't even exist. We pretend like the goal, the dream, the ambition that we want in our life isn't obtainable because our story isn't meant for it. That's one choice. Not the one I recommend, okay? The second choice is we find a way to pitch in. We find a way to contribute. We find a way to help the odds in our favor. We take control of our own destiny and we move forward. That is the choice I do recommend. So what I did, because I chose the second one, is I got a part-time job, cutting grass, taking care of people's yards, doing a whippersnapper job after school, okay? And pretty soon, something magical happened. I started having my own money in my own pocket. It's beautiful how that happens, eh? But here's where things started going wrong for me. Even though I was able to play hockey eventually, even though I was able to afford things that I wanted, like the clothes on my back, going out for movie theaters with buddies, here's where my head started looking at my life in a wrong way. You know, we heard from Mr. Tyler Smith that comparison is a thief of all joy. I have said that in hundreds of presentations, so I promise, Tyler, if you're listening, I'm not trying to steal your line, buddy, okay? But I truly do believe comparison is a thief of all joy. Because often when we compare our lives to other people's lives around us, we don't look for the things that we should be grateful for, that we should be thankful for. We look for the things, unfortunately, that we don't have, maybe compared to somebody else. Has anybody ever seen somebody on social media and somebody's up in Mexico and hanging out and getting the sunshine, and then somebody says, man, I want to go to Mexico, right? We do it lots of times. Now, it's a different way of looking at things when you compare your life to other people. That's one way of looking at things. okay? You can allow it to control you. You can allow it to make you not feel so good about yourself, unfortunately. Or, once again, there's always two choices. The second choice is you let it inspire you. You let it motivate you. You let it light a fire inside of you to take action and control of your own life and find a way to control your own destiny moving forward. That's the choice I try to recommend now, because I know what the other side looks like. Unfortunately, so what I started doing is I started to try and self-medicate, self-cope, because I used to not feel good about who I was as a young person. So 11, 12 years old, what's a young man do when addictions is quite familiar in his eyesight? Well, maybe he starts partaking addictions in himself. So there I was, 11, 12 years old, drinking, smoking weed. But I don't know if you guys can tell, okay? I have a lot of energy. I have ADHD, just so you guys know. If you didn't know that, I have it. So one of those traits of having ADHD, okay, is I have a tendency to have addictive personality, wants and needs. What I fill my time with, I end up loving quickly. And with addictions, it was no different. Pretty soon, it just started with me experimenting with drugs and alcohol. Then eventually it moved to a lot of it. And then eventually it moved to different things like ecstasy. And then eventually it moved to different things like cocaine. And when I was about 14, 15 years old, that's when I started experimenting with cocaine. And that, I'll be honest, took my life for a lot of years. When I was about 16 years old, I worked with this lovely lady at a grocery store. And she used to hear all my stories that I'd get myself into. And she told me two places where my life destiny could go if I don't change the way I was living my life. First statement she told me was that I was going to go to jail at some point in my life. The second statement she told me is that if I don't turn around my life, at some point my life is going to be over. Not necessarily the pep talk that I came here to give to you guys, of course. 3 years later, that's exactly where my life destination was. Same haircut, but this one's not by choice. This one's because I keep having kids and I run a business and it's busy, okay? It's okay to laugh. I'm laughing at Baldwin, okay, guys? It's okay. Lighten up. It's heavy enough in this room, okay? Same haircut, different person. What brought me here to the Prince Albert Men's Correctional for a short time when I was 19, 3 years after this lovely lady told me where my life destination could go. When I have a lot of buddies going on to colleges, universities, some starting careers, some starting to travel the world, some starting families at this time after high school. For a short time, I went to the Men's Correctional. And what brought me here was a mistake that I caused, where me and my best friend were at a house party. We're quite intoxicated. It's about a week before grade 12. And 2:30 in the morning rolls around, and our buddy comes up to us and he says, "Do you guys want to ride? I'm tired, I want to go home." Where our answer should have been yes. Unfortunately, our answer was no. So me and my buddy do something that we've done many times before. We hop in my car that I drove, or that I had my car keys with, and I get in the driver's seat and he gets in the passenger. And we take off. We start laughing, we start having jokes. And then the next moment I remember, I take my eyes off the wheel and we hit a meridian, which is the center sidewalk between two streets. And then after we hit that meridian, I shot my car towards some trees. It was later found out from investigations and police and all that fun jazz that my car came to a complete stop going about 112 to 116. You want to talk about adversity? I'm thankful to be even alive to this day. I'm thankful my best friend is still alive to this day. Because that's not my most favorite picture that I have to look at for a professional career, while my buddy was wrapped up with some machines trying to keep him alive. But it is one we walked together. It is one that we had to go through together. And, within about 3 weeks that my best friend was laid up in the hospital on life support and trying to, the doctors and everybody trying to take care of him, I was at my mother's house, where, of course, I wasn't feeling very good about myself. So a few friends come over to my mom's house one night, and I kept on saying out loud that he's going to survive, he's going to wake up eventually. Whether or not I even believed it or not, that's what I kept on saying. I put a fake mask on myself. And then somebody who was there that night said something out loud to the group. You know what? I just talked to his parents. He might not wake up tonight. Adversity was at its brink for me. So while my buddy was in the hospital like this, not thinking that he was going to wake up, I went to my mother's basement, 3 o'clock in the morning after everyone left. I grabbed the belt around my waist, I hung it by the rafters, and I jumped. I jumped into it without any hesitation because I thought life would never get better. I thought life would never get, more complete. I thought life was a write-off for me at this time of my life. At this point in my life, I have somewhat been dependent on substances for already like 8 years of my life, since I was about 11 years old. I thought my life was meant to just live and die by addictions or due to my own harm. Thankfully, my best friend, he wakes up. And you know what? I wake up the next morning from trying the emotional act that I tried the night before. Even though many people said we weren't going to pull through, we pulled through together. And that's a picture of me and him together, stand side by side a couple years after that car crash. And it was one of the best things that could have ever happened between us after going through that journey, because we were still friends in the end. And I've heard a lot of people who have traveled maybe different similar stories, and they haven't been friends at the end of that tunnel. So for us to be friends was a gift that I don't take for granted. For us to still walk on this earth was something I don't take for granted. For him to still be alive was not something I take for granted ever. But unfortunately, instead of me, moving on and healing with my own thoughts and my own feelings and trying to build a life that I was happy with, I still suffered deep down in silence with adversity, with all the trauma that had happened. And within a timeline around this picture was taken, I was still in the same phases that I was into, still drinking. Once in a while, I'd still do hard drugs. And it was one night that I went out from probably 8 o'clock at night, and I didn't go home till 10 o'clock the next morning because I was doing drugs. It was that morning I walked to my mother's house that wasn't very far away, and I walked into her living room, and I fell on her living room floor because all the drugs that I had taken at this point, I thought I was having an overdose. And that story happened a couple times, unfortunately. That was one of the last times that I thought I came close to overdosing. I woke up like I've done probably a dozen times in my life before, with my mom beside my hospital bed, after waking up being dazed and confused, after being drugged out, after trying to wake up, after surviving whatever I survived the night before. I woke up like I've done a dozen times before, with my mom right beside my hospital bed. But a thought really clicked in at this time, for whatever reason it was, that if I don't start turning things around, if I don't start fighting for the life that I want and that I deserve eventually here, that my luck might run out. And so I realized something. I had to start thinking differently in this life. I had to start thinking differently about who I was. I had to change the way I looked at this world. And one of the mindsets that I had to develop in my life is that I had to stop acting like the victim. That was something that I used to carry with me a great deal. I used to call myself one of the unluckiest people in the room, not necessarily patting yourself on the back for success moving forward. See, I believe the universe, the world, Creator, God, whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe in, listens to the power of the voice that we share into this world. I believe it listens to our thoughts. It watches how we think, how we treat people, how we treat ourselves. And if you call yourself the unluckiest person in the room all the time, whether or not that's correct or not, I think the universe, as a little joke, kind of throws you something to be correct about eventually. I see my good friend Liz Satie saying, yep. And you guys heard that from the elder herself. Change the way of thinking, okay? Because when you change the way how you look at the world as it's not a scary place, it's not out against you, it's not out against you to not make your life the best, but it's there for full of opportunities, full of your potential, whatever you want to drive towards. You know, you look at this world as a place that you can have the best successful life moving forward. Maybe you start taking a few more chances in life. And after a few of those chances, some good things can possibly happen in a person's life. I believe we're products of our environment. And for me, this isn't only about the friends that you hang out with. I'm talking about the music you listen to, the movies you watch, the podcasts you might listen to, the books that you read. I'm talking about everything we fill our environment with, we reflect eventually. And a more powerful way of thinking about things, how we think about ourselves, is also how we reflect out to the world as a mirror. One of the biggest things that helped me grow to the person who I am now to this day that I'm thankful for is being authentic, being real, sharing my lived experiences with one of my best friends years ago when we first started, me and my buddy Regan, after we survived that car crash together. And once again, 10 years ago-ish, when we did 1 or 2 presentations a year, can I ask you guys, do you think those presentations were pretty? No. Okay? They had a lot of tough moments in those presentations. Probably snot bubbles coming out, tears, shaking, but we kept on moving forward. And you know what? I fell in love with doing what I'm doing in front of you guys. I get the opportunity to share on different experiences in front of tens of thousands of people per year. This is my full-time profession. I love it because every single time I go speak somewhere, somebody comes up to me and says, I might have needed to hear this message from you today. I fell in love with that. Okay, what kind of shameless businessman would I be if I didn't shamelessly plug my own business? This took me a long time to actually put this up in my slides because I didn't want to be the salesy businessman speaking in front of 100 people, 200, 300 people talking about my business. Until a good friend, a mentor of mine said, why wouldn't you talk about your business? This is a part of your healing journey. This is a part of your growth. This is about how you rewrote your story, man. And it is very true. Because years ago, I used to run into a lot of people when I used to work with a lot of youth in a youth care home who used to tell me different stories. And whether it's staff or kids, they used to say, I can only go this far in life. I have an invisible line that I can't cross because I was born this way. I was brought up this way. This is how my cards are playing out, and that's what it is. And that bothered me so much because people truly don't understand how much potential they have within themselves. It is a beautiful magic that you have within yourself that you can release when you work hard enough, you dedicate yourself enough, and you move your foot in the right direction of those beautiful dreams and ambitions. So, of course, I started a clothing company out of the trunk of my car 8 years ago with 100 t-shirts. And my message was to share that life is beautiful, life is limitless, as long as we believe in ourselves, as long as we strive towards the destination we want in life. I would meet buddies at gas stations, parking lots, restaurants, sometimes in the evenings. I'll be honest, it probably looked sketchy sometimes because I'd meet buddies and I'd pop open my trunk, I'd take $20, toss the $20 in there and hand them something in a bag. It was only t-shirts though, okay, it was only t-shirts. But because I believe dreams are real, the energy we put out into the world is real, I wanted to see what would happen if I put one of my biggest goals on a piece of paper. And I looked at that piece of paper every day for 6 months when I first started my company. And it said one day I was going to have my own storefront. I lost that piece of paper in an old sock drawer for 2.5 years. But when I was moving out of a basement suite, I knew a perfect place to put it. My storefront that I had in downtown Prince Albert here for about 4 years. Now, the first 3 months I was open, I had people lined up in front of my store on Boxing Day, Christmas sales. I had people lined up in my store before I even arrived there myself at times. You know what incredible feeling that is, to open up something out of nothing and have people want to wait for your store to open? That's incredible. But it doesn't happen when you back down to adversity. It doesn't happen when you don't want to lead your life in the right direction. Sometimes you have to step into the unknown. You have to step into what is scary for your future to unfold in itself. And because I learned that every human being has a resilience part of them, when COVID locked down everything in the world, and I decided to say, no, thank you, I decided to keep shifting, keep pivoting, keep adapting, keep finding different ways in your life that you can continue moving forward, even though that the world throws external forces at us all the time and it can be out of our control. But what is in control are the things that you can control, right? Control your controllables. Everything else is out of your hands. So what I did is I showed up to my store often, every day, late nights. You want to talk about me and my beautiful girlfriend at that time fighting more than we ever did? It's because I would spend 18 hours at my store at times. We're married, we have kids now, it's beautiful, but it took us a minute to get there. But in 2021, I was named Saskatchewan's Young Entrepreneur of the Year. For my business, I started out of the trunk of my car. Now, a good friend of mine by the name of Richard Aheneque, he told me in 40 years that these business awards have been around in Saskatchewan. In 40 years, only about 5 individuals have built, owned, and operated a business from Prince Albert to receive an ABEX award. And at that time, I was lucky number 5 in 40 years. Since then, there's been multiple others. Now, we got to wrap up here, right, Miss Lindsay? Okay. I can almost hear a pin drop in this room. Come on, guys. Now, let me tell you about a story. If we haven't gone deep yet, we're going to get deep now, okay? So, 2 years ago, I had this dream that I want to be a professional speaker out of the blue, even though it's something I deep down inside wanted for a while. Not because I chose this path like Mr. Tyler Smith, but it's because it was the path that was presented to us and I fell in love with it. 2 years ago, COVID was thankfully doing its thing, and life was opening back up again, and we could have these times together. We could meet each other. We could see each other's faces again. And I told myself, you know what? I don't know if my journey is meant to stay in this 1,000-square-foot store anymore. And so what I did is I told my buddy Alan Kaler, who's like a big brother to me, that I'm thinking about closing my store down to go speak full-time. He said, have you ever asked your higher power what you believe in, your God, your creator, whatever you think you believe in, for some clarity? I said, not about this decision. He said, okay. After we get off the phone, Cody, you go ask what you believe in. I said, okay. I get off the phone. I look up. I say, dear creator, God, please give me a sign to know which path I need to take in order to continue my life. That's it. The next morning, I'm leaving the gym. I get a phone call from a police officer at 7 o'clock in the morning as I'm leaving the gym. And this police officer says, hey, is this Cody Demery? I say, it sure is. What can I do for you? I didn't do anything wrong. The police officer says, Cody, we drove past your storefront 3 o'clock this morning, and 4 individuals were starting a fire in the front entrance of your store. We drove past and we got them to put it out. They're just trying to keep warm, but we just wanted to let you know that there might be a mess for you to clean up when you get there. I said, okay. Loud and clear, I got my sign from my creator when I believe it. I immediately made a social media post saying I'm closing my store down to go chase this dream of being a professional speaker so I can hopefully inspire people to step into the unknown of their own lives. My bookkeeper called me a fool because I told her this story. I said, you know what, that's okay. That's your opinion. I'm going to just go with it. And then what happened next was that I was at a hockey tournament selling some of my hoodies, some of my hats, some of my swag. Like I got some up here, just shameless plug again, throwing it out there. A lovely lady comes up to me. She says, Cody, how do you feel about you closing your store down? I said, I'm scared. I don't know if this is the right call. She said, young man, maybe that's exactly why it's the right call. You're stepping into the unknown. You're believing in yourself. And sometimes that's what we need to do. She grabbed my hand and she looked down and she said, "Do you mind if we pray for you to have some more clarity, that you're on the right path?" I said, "Sure, let's do that." After we do that, we lift our heads. I give her a hug. I give her a hoodie as a thank you. And then 30 hours later, I get another phone call from another police officer. And this police officer says, "Hey, sorry to wake you up in the middle of the night, but we got a phone call to your store. 3 people were breaking into your store this evening. We caught 2 of them." I said, "Okay, I'm not asking a third time for my clarity." Within a week and a half after me closing my store down, I started talking with one of the Lake Country Co-op managers who said, "We're always told to be kept on the lookout for businesses that could reflect good in our storefronts and maybe work well." I called that gentleman every day for a week. I said, "Hey, what do you think about us working together?" Every day for almost a week. And eventually it came true, maybe a couple weeks after me closing my store. People asked me after this partnership happened whether or not it was actually planned or not. I said, no, not a single chance. But I was guided in this way to take. And sometimes we just have to trust in our intuitions to walk the right path for us to move forward, even though fear can scare us away from that. And then within a year of that happening, I also started working with SAS Polytechnic, where I also sell some of my merchandise and some of my books. Instead of 1 location that I used to have, I now have 8 locations where I sell my merchandise. And yes, I now get to speak in front of people as a profession for a full-time journey. I get to speak in front of tens of thousands of people. And I'll tell you guys a little trade secret. Before I walked onto the stage, you should have felt my chest. It was beating like crazy. But I still stepped into the unknown because I had faith that I was walking the right path. And sometimes that's what we have to do moving forward. Now, I already took 3 minutes past my timeline, okay? So I'm gonna end on some good notes. There's a lot of beauty on the other side of not giving up. Even when you want to, at times, give up, there is a lot of beauty on the other side of not giving up. And yes, that is my baby boy, who we welcomed into this world last Thursday. For those who are asking, one's 3 years old, one's 2, one is 0. So we're crazy over at that house. But it works for us. It works for us. One is haven, because I believe everyone in this world has a safe haven. They just have to find it. Whatever that means to you could look totally different than what it means for me. My second baby is hope, because a little hope in this world can go a long ways. And the third one, his name is Hasten, because we named him, well, he's got an H in his name, right? No. But it also has a meaning behind being a guardian, a leader, a calm place, a calm presence. Because sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we have to stay calm moving forward, even though waters can be stormy at times. So, moral of the story, because I already took a few minutes over my presentation time, is I really want people to understand this. Moral of my story that I love to share with a lot of people is that when we have a breath in our chest, a heartbeat in our, chest, whatever it is. You guys can read, right? You can change the ending of your story, no matter what. So what that looks like to you, that is how you need to lead your life next. I want to thank the organizers, every single person, one of you, for giving me your time and energy, which are the 2 most precious resources another human being can give to another human being. My name is Cody Demery, and once you believe you have the ability and capacity to do great things in life, that is when I truly believe life can become limitless. Thank you. Okay. Now, I don't know whether or not I'm supposed to ask if there's any questions or not, so I'm just going to ask, is there any questions or not? Brett, I see you put your hand up very quickly. Regan, my buddy, Regan is still one of my best friends still to this day, and he owns and runs a successful construction business where he just built us my new shop for my business, a 900 square foot garage that I will be paying off that loan for a while now, but that's okay. That's also, I make this joke, okay? I made this joke in a high school the other day that I spoke at. In my slides, you can see my hairline progressively getting higher and higher. And that's a part of that. But I also got to support my buddy in his business too, so that's beautiful. Any more questions? No? Maggie? Yes, sir. Let's see if I have it here somewhere. Yes, my baby girl Haven, who is a little bit older than this picture now and much more sassier. Yes. The Life is Limitless logo. As I told a graphic designer buddy about me trying to take my life years ago, and that I woke up and I couldn't believe if I was alive or not. I told him I wanted my symbol, one of the main ones we stand for, to represent that. He sent me maybe 5 or 6 designs, and I said, that one. Life is limitless. And then one of the other designs that I have also is the infinity gears, because it's, always moving forward. And that's a little paying homage to my Métis heritage. Okay. Any more questions? Is anybody going to pull me off the stage? I could stay here all day, just so you guys know. Nope. Perfect. Thank you very much. My name's Cody Demmer, everybody.
Thank you, Cody, for joining us today and for sharing a message that inspired and energized our audience. We truly appreciate your time and the motivation you've brought to our symposium. For everybody in here, feel free to check out Cody's booth in the lounge after the event today.
We will now transition into our panel discussion titled Strength in Struggle, Developing Leaders Through Adversity. This panel brings together individuals who will share their lived experiences of overcoming challenges and how those experiences have shaped their leadership, resilience, and sense of purpose.
To guide today's conversation, we are pleased to welcome our panel moderator, who will introduce our panelists and lead the discussion. She is a second-year student in the SUNTEP program, offered through the Gabriel Dumont Institute in partnership with the University of Saskatchewan. Please join us in welcoming Emma Story.
Hello, everybody. I hope your day has been going well. Now, there's plenty of very, very familiar faces, thank gosh. But I'll start off with an introduction anyways. So, Tanchikiawa, Emma Dishnekashan, Arjan Dikalnia. So my name is Emma Story. I am a university student at the moment, and I am a Francophone Michif woman. So we have an exciting conversation ahead, and I'm especially grateful to be joined by such knowledgeable and diverse group of panelists. Each of them brings a unique perspective and valuable experience to today's discussion. So first off, let's start by introducing our first panelist, Jay Wilson, who is the principal of the USask Prince Albert campus.
Okay.
So Jay, would you like to just introduce yourself and your role?
Sure. Oh, I get to be the technology test as well. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all here. I'm Jay Wilson, the principal of the USask campus here in Prince Albert. I'm normally a faculty member and have spent a lot of money at post-secondary educations, made a little bit, and advised lots of students over the years. So I think that's why I'm sitting up here today. Thanks for the invite.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming out today. Next, we have Naresh, a Sask Polytech alumnus who's currently working as an employment counselor with the Prince Albert and District Community Service Center.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Good to see you all. My name is Naresh. I graduated from Saskatchewan Polytechnic in 2024. And during my schooling, I started my leadership journey by running the vice president for the Saskatchewan Polytechnic Student Association. That was a turning point for me. I decided to take on leadership roles, helping the community, started working with the YWCA, and currently working with the Prince Albert Community Service Center as an employment counselor, and proud to be a board member of Family Futures and Saskatchewan Cultural Exchange Society, sorry. Good to see you all, thank you.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful you could join us today. We're also joined by Marley, who is the Director of University Programs and Services at Gabriel Dumont Institute.
So, thank you, everybody. My name is Marley Prue. As stated, I am the Director of University Programming for Gabriel Dumont Institute. Born and raised in Buffalo Narrows, Saskatchewan, and then did a long stint over in La Ronge, where I've got really strong family roots, and I'm just getting used to the city life in Saskatoon. So I oversee all of our SunTep programs across the province, as well as our Northern Saskatchewan Indigenous Teacher Education Program in La Ronge. I also oversee our Masters of Education. We're starting a cohort in Saskatoon this summer, as well as our Indigenous Ed Doctoral. So kind of overseeing a bunch of different programs. I've been in post-secondary leadership for over 5 years now, advocating for post-secondary experiences for Indigenous students from across our province.
Perfect, thank you so much. And finally, last but not least, a face many of us know very, very well, we have Santana Debray next. She is a current fourth-year education student through SunTep.
Hello, everybody. My name is Santana Debray. You're going to have to excuse me for my voice. I'm a little bit sick at the moment, but I am fourth year at the SunTep program, just finishing up. I am from Local 10, Métis Nation in Duck Lake, and yeah, I'm so glad to have you to be here and happy for all you guys to be here and listen to what we got to say.
So I'm gonna get us kicked off right away. I know we've all been here listening, so let's push through this last little section. So first up, who should we go with? 4 options to choose. Should have brought a coin to flip.
They shouted out Santana right away. Crowd favorite. Yeah.
You know what, we'll go with the crowd favorite. We'll get you going right from the start. So Santana, what skills do you believe will define successful leaders in the next decade?
I got some notes prepared. Being Indigenous leadership has been one of the greatest, highest honors. With the blend of tradition and innovation, our next leaders can bridge traditional and contemporary worlds together to strengthen identities. Some of my leaders, like Louis Riel and Gabriel Dumont, these men had a for the people mindset, meaning their leadership has been measured by services or contributing to the well-being of their communities, rather than their own profit or gain for power. Indigenous leaders often see themselves as accountable to their elders, to their peers, and especially the land itself. By adapting these same principles into our next generation, especially in our schools, we can create that village that helps our students. So remember to allow yourself to be a helping hand, be consistent with your words and your actions, but you also need to be honest, ethical, and transparent. People follow leaders that they can trust and who can face challenges, uncertainty, and failure. It's about learning from setbacks and remaining a very resilient mindset.
Definitely starting us off strong with that one. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to go down the line all the way to the end, and we're gonna get Jay with this next question. So Jay, how do you help students navigate financial and or administrative barriers to achieve their education and or career goals?
Well, I think the greatest thing is when you're moving into post-secondary, which I'm hoping all of you do, and you don't all have to go to USask, you can go to any of these fine institutions that are represented here, or the ones that you're currently at. I think a little bit of investment on your part will go a long way. So people will say, oh, there's nothing out there for me. Most post-secondary institutions have a range of student support programs, and if you spend a little bit of time, look to see which scholarships and bursaries are available, it's quite remarkable. And I tell students, you could spend an hour and make $10,000. Like, what? What kind of job do you want me to do? No, it's looking at those scholarships. Often the number of people who apply for them is very low, and they don't always get awarded. And so if you're like, oh, but I don't have this average, or I haven't done this, you'd be surprised at what things that are out there fit with your experience and fit with your background. And a lot of times, it's not just for students who have the highest academic standing, but it's need, it is community involvement, all kinds of things like that. So you do bring a really important package to that experience, and just by investigating, asking people who are in positions who know those awards and the backgrounds on them can go a long way to help. And it takes a lot of pressure off you. And we know how much the cost of being a human being in this environment is, but when you're a student and you're dedicating so much time to school, you don't have the same amount of time to work. So it's really important to be aware of those things that can free up time so that you can be a better student and put as much time into your studies as possible. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you so much for that thoughtful answer. That was a really good one. And just so you guys are aware, if you have anything you want to add in, just cut me off. I'm a little bit like a bulldozer. I kind of just keep going forward, so just put a stop to me and jump right in. So we're going to continue on with Marley. So how do you or your work contribute to developing leadership skills in others around you?
Okay, so when I started out my career, I started out as a teacher. Okay, so 16 years old, went to what was NORTEP, went to university to become a teacher, because it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to figure out how I could help people. I grew up with a hockey background, so I played hockey on a lot of different stages with a lot of different teams across the province. And I always had great coaches, mentors, leadership. Always really felt that connection to the communities that we played in, or to my teammates' communities, just with their family. And so teaching was one of those opportunities for me that allowed me to be that person, right? It allowed me to take up that space in front of a room full of people, share my experiences, connect with people, and then figure out ways in which we could enhance their lives. After becoming a teacher, I taught Cree language and culture up in northern Saskatchewan for 7 years, and an opportunity came up to move into post-secondary education. I became the vice president of Northlands College, Student Affairs and Adult Basic Education. Now, attending my first adult basic education graduation was probably the most humbling, inspiring, and one of my best moments in my career that I could ever think of, because the courage that it takes to come back to school to finish, and the courage that it takes to, put your life on hold to achieve these dreams, to work with your families, to inspire your own children, to have that support from your families, it just floored me. I was so proud of that first group of adult basic education graduates, and I stayed in contact with them still. And then the opportunity came to move to Gabriel Dumont Institute, and what an opportunity to be a part of teaching teachers how to be teachers. And I looked at that opportunity, and I looked at the team that we have, our program head here, Bonnie, our program heads across the province, the leadership team that I get to work with at Gabriel Dumont Institute. Building your team like you'd build a hockey team is probably the best advice that I can give when you're moving into leadership, because you need to rely on one another. Everybody has a job, right? Like we heard this afternoon from Smitty, he was talking about how he's the glue guy. You need those on your team. You need those in your leadership team. And so now I get to sit with SUNTEP students and be inspired by them and learn from them and empowered by them. I get to sit with our amazing elders and community members to figure out different ways that I can help inspire teachers to be teachers and to be that next generation of leaders in the classroom.
Thank you very, very much. Anybody in here who is not a SUNTEP student, you would not believe how many times we hear the sentence, teaching teachers how to teach. So we'll continue on next with Naresh. So this is a double question. There's two of them who get to answer this one, so we'll have to double up on that one. So what have difficult experiences taught you about your leadership capacity?
Okay. Well, I still remember when I first decided to take on leadership roles at the school. I was filling out this form for the student association to run for the vice president election. I was sitting in the library. I filled out the whole form. I was just about to click submit. I start having thoughts, a lot of thoughts, million of thoughts, go blank. I was like, what if people judge me? What if I fail? What if I lose? But then in a microsecond, I have another thought. What if I succeed? What if I make a positive impact? I submitted. That was the best decision of my life. My life changed with just one decision. And that's all leadership is about, taking good decisions. And you have to start from yourself. If you wanted to make a good impact on others, you have to help yourself first. And that decision changed my life. If I'm sitting here, it starts from that single decision that I decided to run for leadership roles. So think positively always. When I was coming to this arena, I met my old instructor, and he remembers me very well, and he was glad that I'm here. So I was sitting there and I was thinking, I said, so people will remember you if you fail, but that's temporarily. They will forget you anyways. But those people will always remember you who see you trying, who see you that you're doing well, that you're succeeding. They will remember you forever, and that's permanent. So always believe in yourself and keep hustling.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now I am just going to pass the exact same question on to Santana, so I'll repeat it once again. What have difficult experiences taught you about your leadership capacity?
One of the things I still find myself being is liked versus being respected. Having the desire to be liked is natural, but leadership sometimes requires making unpopular decisions for the greater good. So prioritizing respect and long-term healthy relationships over short-term popularity. You want to be remembered for the leader that you are, not the Karen that you were for 30 minutes because you wanted it your way. You have to take into consideration the whole group. Another difficult experience is navigating complex systems that operate in challenging environments that have a legacy of colonialism, systemic barriers, and depending on where you're located as a student, having under-resourced communities. It took years for our ancestors to be in positions that we are in now. And as a leader, you must challenge policies, challenge laws that may affect pathways for our next generation. We are all paving the way. We must leave behind supports that help rather than hurt our community, our environment, and our students. A leader has difficult experiences all the time, but it's the ability to navigate them with integrity, learn from them, and emerge with greater wisdom and compassion for the next challenge. It's always a continuous cycle of pressure and growth.
Thank you so much for that thoughtful answer. We're going to hop back down the line again, all the way to the bottom. Jay, could you give us any advice as students to avoid delays in managing finances, loans, and/or funding?
Yeah, I'm the finance guy today for some reason, so I do believe in leadership. I've had lots of opportunities to do that, and I really value what I'm hearing from my colleagues. Can I just say one thing about leadership? It's the greatest opportunity to learn. So when someone comes up to you and says, hey, do you mind taking on this task? We need someone who might be responsible for a particular outcome or the success of a program. Oftentimes what you're doing is you're getting into a situation where you may not have all the answers, but you learn. And because of the abilities that other people have recognized in you, you have that bit of grace, you have those opportunities to reflect and to move forward, much like being asked to be on a panel when you just came to be in the audience. So it's really interesting. I would say that segues into the advice I have in terms of your actual question for me, which is how do I figure all this stuff out? And we're constantly evolving as people, and we all of a sudden may realize, oh my gosh, we're grown-ups and we have to be responsible for all kinds of things we didn't know about. But they're important to you, and you've all made sacrifice, and you will all continue to make sacrifices. But with a little bit of knowledge, those sacrifices can be a little better calculated. You can decide to actually have fun in your life instead of just be saving and scrimping all the time and trying to pay bills. You can tuck aside some money there, but when you start to understand, how a budget works, how student loans work, what you can use in terms of tax deductions, all of those things can really benefit you as a student. And again, it may seem super boring at some point in time in your life, but it takes on tremendous meaning, and it gives you freedom to pursue those leadership opportunities and to really thrive as you move forward in your career, depending on whatever career that is that you choose. Was that a good answer to your question? I'm completely lost.
That was a really, really good answer.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
So Marley, what has been the most rewarding part of helping others grow into leadership roles?
All right. So one quick thing on the finances before we move on, because I think this is important, but don't gatekeep. So if you have a scholarship or a funding portion or something that you have found, understand that, as Santana said, we're all walking this path together. You're not in competition, you're just helping each other out, right? So apply for all of them. I know GDSF, so Gabriel Dumont Scholarship, I know Cody had his clothing line. I've got a scholarship foundation. So apply, please. Métis students, apply for GDSF. We're going to open in March. So apply for all of our scholarships, please. But yeah, don't gatekeep. Sit with your classmates, sit with your peers, and talk about it. Talk about some of the funding pots that you're accessing. Talk about some of the scholarships that you've seen or that you've applied for. Write your letters together. If you're having a little bit of trouble writing your own story or writing down the essay question that's in there, your peers are your biggest resource. So talk with one another, right? Create that family. In terms of leadership, so some of the biggest successes that I've seen, this year we went to a conference in Winnipeg with the Rideau Hall Foundation. And we had our SUNTEP students from Regina hosting the event in a way where they were working with elders from across the province, from across Canada, sorry. They led our smudging throughout the entire 2-day conference. And honestly, sitting there looking at them with all of their pride in being SUNTEP students and this opportunity to host leaders in education from across Canada was just so rewarding. But also anytime I get to watch our SUNTEP students, the greatest joy so far that I've found within this role is watching our SUNTEP students blossom. Hearing stories when I go to a school, when I go to pick up my own children from school, or just when people see me somewhere and they say, do you know what one of your SUNTEP students did? And I'm just amazed. Or when I go somewhere and they say, so-and-so is a SUNTEP alumni, and can you imagine what they're doing now? Can you believe what they're doing now? And I think that it is SUNTEP is a family. We've said it. Those of you who get to experience it know it. Those of you who don't, come visit us, because there's always room at our table for conversations and laughter. But finding your people, working with your people, and really embracing every opportunity. This today is a huge opportunity, so thank you to the students who planned this. I am so floored by bringing all of this together, and the depth of your questions has been phenomenal, so thank you. And I just think, take those opportunities to share with one another.
Thank you very much. So last for the individual questions, we are going to go back to Naresh. So, this is a long one. Lots of words. In what ways do factors like work eligibility, residence status, or transportation affect students' daily experiences, and how do individuals adapt or lead through these challenges?
Well, those factors actually play a big role when you're a student. And I'll be very honest, I was an international student when I came here from a totally different country. I was very young. I haven't done any research about the city, about the province I'm going to, about the school. That was my mistake. I was like, okay, I can walk. I will walk. I'll walk to school. My school day, minus 30. It came from positive 30 to minus 30. I could not even get out of my house. So do your proper research. Schooling is like a full-time job, and take it like, so when you go for a job, you prepare yourself for interview, you prepare yourself to do the job duties. Schooling is similar. Look for the resources that are available. And it was until like 1 year of my schooling, I find out that there are student benefits. There's like free health and dental coverage from the student association available for me. With my student ID, I can have a cheaper bus pass. Even like affordable housing you can apply for. And those factors, housing, transportation, work eligibility, and all other, it's a mental stress, because most of your time is already, you're putting towards the studies, but then you also have to take care of yourself. So do your research, look for the resources that are available, and it's all about a short time. Once you finish your study, you'll be so happy. And I was, but schooling is an amazing experience. Those factors are always gonna be there, but look for the available resources. I mean, speak to everyone. When I was at the school, I'm looking for housing. I'm speaking with all my instructors, librarians, and out of nowhere, somebody's like, oh, you know what? I know somebody who has a private place. Maybe you can rent a room. There you go. I have a safe place to stay with the heater on, and now I don't have to worry about minus 30. So resources are available, options are available. All you have to do is keep looking for it, keep researching, keep investigating, and enjoy your academic time.
Thank you so much, everybody, for those amazing answers. We did fly through the individual questions fairly quickly, so I am going to add some group questions that weren't written down. So if I stumble, if I pause and go, just pretend like it's part of the show. So first up, I'm gonna ask the same question to everybody. You guys can kind of just shout out your answers as you want, jump in on others respectfully. So first off, are there any little-known resources or programs that students often overlook but could really benefit from?
Sure. I'll talk what they're thinking. How does that sound? Yeah, and again, I'm here as kind of the voice of the University of Saskatchewan, but a lot of these things apply to other programs as well. There are oftentimes your instructors, faculty, who get professional development funds that they can't spend, or research funds, and they're looking for help. And help could be being a TA, doing some research work, helping them clean their office. No, that never happens. But little things like that, and I hear again and again from instructors where they say, if only I could find a student to give this money to, So be aware of those little hidden things, and often it's a relationship you built with your instructors, and they have small pockets of money that they're able to provide you with, usually with no strings attached. And $5,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot when you're trying to buy groceries or trying to pay your rent. So that's one that sometimes slips past people's radar, is the fact that the people who are teaching them also have access to other funds that are a little more flexible and can be put in students' pockets. And that's something that I've done over the years, and it's worked out really well.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. In my opinion, I think most students don't really know how much they can access through some of their school libraries. I mean, you can get lots of help from tutors, book specifics for good resources, even help with writing assignments like proofreading and stuff like that. Another good one is like using your student advisor. They literally do that for their work. They try to help manage your mental health and manage the stress that you have while doing your studies. By using even local supports or people in the community or emergency programs. So don't ever feel bad. Everyone has their hiccups, and especially in your studies, you'll always have hiccups. So don't be afraid to look out and search for those supports.
I think scholarships is the biggest thing, you guys. So, GDSF, any Métis citizens in this, make sure that you apply when GDSF is open. The other big thing that I found in student affairs and helping students and supporting students is when you're applying for Saskatchewan loans, student loans, apply for the bursaries. The bursaries are the ones that you don't have to pay back, and they just sit there because sometimes students forget to check that one little box, and it opens up a whole other pot of funding for you to access. And then sometimes a quick Google search. So when you're doing your scholarships, making sure that you have a really good essay, and all you kind of need is one really good essay, and you can cut and paste that really good essay into all of these different scholarship applications, and don't sell yourself short. If you're helping coach somewhere, then put that within there that you have some community involvement, or if you're connected by going to help elders, anything that you do is important, and that's what people who are reviewing scholarships really want to see. It's not always about academics, it's about leadership skills, community involvement, and just don't be ashamed of your story, because that's why these things are put into place, is to support you and to help you get through this section of your journey, because it is just a part of your journey.
You mentioned a very good point that don't be ashamed of speaking up until and unless your school or the people who are there to help, they don't know what you're going through, they cannot provide you a solution. So do speak up. Mention that you're going over, if it's like a financial burden or a mental health stress, you have to speak it out. Only then you can receive benefit from their advice. And plus, scholarship bursaries are always available. And look for outside resources. Like, we have a lot of agencies who provide free counseling services, and then they have some budgeting programs, also like food bank for cheap groceries and stuff. So keep looking for options. And there's always resources available, but do speak out. Don't be shy of what you're going through.
Now, I'm going to go off script, and I'm going to throw you guys into a bit of a panic while I throw a new question at you. But throughout the day, we've heard a lot about how sports can affect leadership, how it relates very much to leadership and kind of building those skills within yourself and people around you. What are other hobbies, interests, things that students can get themselves into that can build those same kind of qualities that aren't exactly sports? If you guys have any ideas, if not, you can just move along.
This is gonna kind of sound funny, but playing cards, card games. So I have 3 sons, and so they are in sports, but aside from their sports, one of the things that I remember growing up is playing cards with my family. I learned math skills, I learned how to let things go for the next round of cards. I learned how to how to make quick decisions. There are so many values and skills in that kitchen table time that you can, and I know these last 2 weeks, my sons and I and my husband, we've been playing cards every night, and it's helped with emotional regulation, it's helped with maths, like it's helped with so many different things. So sports isn't the only place where you're gonna learn that stuff. The other one, the other activity that I think you can learn a lot about who you are and what skills you possess is beading, right? Sorting beads. We know when we think about back in the day, or the old ones, and when they would bead, and sometimes the months in December and January would be the times where the kids had to sort the colors of beads. And our cookums didn't just dump all their beads into one bowl for fun. There was a purpose, because it taught us patience, it taught us creativity, it taught us color complements, it taught us to have a vision to work towards. There are so many different skills that can come from just sitting at a kitchen table, you know, picking up a deck of cards or pulling out your bowl of beads and having those conversations. So.
You know, like even taking part in the extra activities other than your schooling, even if it's like a volunteer opportunities or an event is going on and they're looking for people, just like sitting on the panel, that really helps. It gives you self-esteem that you did something, it builds your confidence, you learn something new, you improve your skills. So it's always helpful. Academic year is stressful when you're in the school, so take part in those extra activities. It also works as like that mental stress relief sometimes when you're not focusing on studies, but you're doing something else. It's a good learning process.
I think a little thing that I just want to add is just like what these guys said about volunteer. A lot of people see volunteer time as just hours collected and, you know, something that could be mandatory and sometimes is, but I think it's really switching your mindset to what can these volunteer opportunities come from, like what can come from these, and setting yourself in positions where you can better and grow and do different things where you might not have even expected. I wouldn't have thought I'd be on this stage last year, but here I am. And so, you know, it's just the little things that you kind of do that get you in positions that, you know, you would be expected of. Yeah, expected, so.
Well, I'm a sports guy, so you're pushing me outside my comfort zone, but I would say the volunteer one is great, and volunteer in an area that makes you uncomfortable. So kind of like what Santana was saying, something you've never thought of before or never tried. And I tell people to do that when they're planning their courses as well. And sometimes you have some flexibility and elective in your program. Take something that is so far outside your comfort zone, if you can afford the marks, you know, so the grades aren't going to be a factor for you. But you'd be surprised when you expose yourself to something new, either as a volunteer or as a learning opportunity, that your mind gets used in different ways. The skills you develop are not the ones that you keep going back to, but it's a whole new set of skills that you've developed, and it's remarkable. Like, I had no idea, I didn't know that, and now I do, and hey, I like this. It can be impactful. And right now you have choice. When you're all grown up and stuff, you're gonna be like, crap, I have to go to work and whatnot. But when you're in school, you can be, yeah, I always wanted to be a big brother or a big sister, for example, and I have time to do that, you know, a couple hours a week, and maybe something that you'd never done before. So yeah, volunteering, totally. And you'd be surprised how many people in life end up with jobs as a result of something they did. So they volunteered, and then they needed a coordinator, and then they needed an ED, and suddenly they're running a program that they were doing just for fun, and it's become a profession for them.
Okay, thank you very much for those answers. I am just going to open up the floor to questions from the audience. So if anybody has any questions for the panelists. Oh, Elder Liz.
So, both Tyler and Cody talked about adversity, getting them to where they are today. To each and every one of you, did you have any adversity in your life to get you where you are now? To be sitting in that chair?
Do you mean this morning?
Adversity is getting out of the chair.
No, I think as we grow and learn and as we reflect, we understand our stories a little bit more. My story would probably take more than an hour presentation. But yeah, there's definitely been times in my life or forks in the road where I've had to stop and think and really understand who I am and where do I want to go. And then what are some of those factors that pull me to where I am now. So there's been a few really big, significant ones in my life. You know, in my career, I always end up back working with mental health. You know, I am somebody who went through, there was a lot of suicides in the community that I grew up in at a very young age, and so that was something that I had to kind of overcome and get over. I did leave home at a young age and move out on my own. Like I said, I was in university at 16. I had 2 wonderful kids while I was in university, so include your kids in your university journey because it makes it that much more exciting. And yeah, even in my career, there have been different times where I've had to pivot, or I've had to turn, or I've had to reflect, or I've had to re-educate myself on certain things and unlearn things that I thought that I knew. To allow myself to grow and lead and to work with some of the incredible people I work with. So I think we all kind of have our stories, and as we grow and we reflect and we learn how to find strength within our stories, then some of those stories do come out onto the big stage. But sometimes they're just quiet little coffee moments that we can share as we get to know and connect with one another.
Like she said, we all have our stories, and you know, being a student still myself, this morning I was sitting in my faculty's room, you know, kind of giving her the lowdown of why I was, you know, having some struggles, and you know, we all have them, and it's just, you know, how you overcome them, and what you do to push through. It's the sports that you have there, and who's gonna check on you. It's who's there for you, and holding on to those people who are there, and making sure that you know that if there is a time that you are, you know, ever, you know, feeling struggle, or feeling that you're down in your luck, or maybe assignments too hard, or deadlines coming up that you're not sure you're gonna make, you know, you always reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. And yeah, it's for me. School was hard. School was very hard, you know, not only because of my age, I'm not very old, but also being Métis, being Two-Spirit, being all the things that I am in this society we are, you know. You gotta push through those, you need to break down those barriers, and you need to put your feet in those spots. You need to make sure that you're standing tall, and that you're there for a purpose. You need to find that purpose and why you want to stay there, and why you want to finish and push through. It's to reach that finish line. That's what it is. It's getting over the hill and taking the ride down. It's having fun with it. It's being close to who you need to be close to and finding those people who are your people.
Yeah, I think for me it's the loss of a parent when I was quite young, so that put me into a leadership role right off the bat. So I spent a lot of my time, oh, I'll take care of that, I'll look after that, and that kind of set me on a track in terms of understanding responsibility, understanding where your role was, and maybe being so young that you didn't realize that wasn't actually your job, and maybe I still don't understand that. But having worked at the university for 30 years now, I've had lots of opportunity for adversity, but also lots of opportunity to take advantage of roles that I thought were my dream job and then didn't work out, and then, you know, in charge of all the USask students as vice provost and thought that was my dream job and then didn't continue on in that, and so there's always a door that will open for you, and if you're willing to step through it with a good heart and an open mind, and if you're someone that has confidence or feels that you can develop that confidence, that adversity is something that makes you stronger. You're always learning and you can push forward, and even on those days where you think, oh my gosh, and I was joking about this morning, right, when it was super windy and cold and people just want to stay inside, right? But if you're the kind of person that can push through those things, not just the weather, but all those other adversities in your life, you feel really good about who you are, and it doesn't have to be on a billboard somewhere. It can be in your heart, and it could be just for you, and that gets you through those tough times and makes you feel really good about the person you are, and that goes a long way. Other people see that as well. You know, you see the other people on the stage, you know how folks are drawn to these people because of who they are inside, and that's really obvious to the people who are watching them and hearing their stories.
For me, it was adapting a new culture when I came here, getting out of my comfort zone. I would separate my life into two parts, one when I was back home, the second when I was here. First day when I tried to cook, fire brigade in front of my house. But I learned, we learn from our failures. Life is full of challenges, but you learn from your mistakes, and now I can make a good meal, and my friends like my food. That's a proud for me. So, stepping out of the comfort zone, it takes a lot of courage. You have to be very dedicated and ready to take this step. So that was a big challenge for me, but I'm happy that I was able to do well. It's been 3 years I'm living here, and I love Prince Albert, love Saskatchewan, love Canada too.
Okay, we do have time for one more question.
So the position that you're in now, what you're doing, how did you know that was where you're supposed to be, and do you feel like there's more that you can do, or are you just comfortable where you're at?
Apparently I get to be first again. Like I say, that when you work in a professional institution, there's lots of opportunities that come up over time. So I am also a classroom teacher by trade, an elementary school teacher, a failed elementary school teacher, so I had to go become a professor, I guess, and then other things happened. But if you find something that you love and gives a lot back to you and really feeds your soul, and you make a difference with other people, then oftentimes you will stay in those jobs. But there are always other opportunities. So for me, I will, who knows how long I'll be in this job. I love Prince Albert as well, and I really think it's a fantastic community, and I enjoy the time that I'm here. But I'm sure that some other opportunity will will come up that will be a shiny object that I'll chase at some point in time.
I would say find your interest. It wasn't until I find that I love leadership roles, I love helping out the community, I was able to find these jobs for me. When I find out that, okay, this is the field I wanted to go with, you gave more than your 100%, and that's what happened to me. The jobs I was doing before, it's like, oh, I don't want to go to this job. But now you feel like you wanted to go, you wanted to do well, and you wanted to contribute because that's your what interest is. That's where you wanted to go with. So that was me. As soon as I find out that this my interest is, this where I wanted to go, I find this profession. I ended up with the Prince Albert Community Service Center as an employment counselor, helping others reaching out their employment goals. So look for your interest and give some time to yourself, explore yourself too.
So if you would have asked me 20 years ago if I would be involved in education, I would have said absolutely not. So I come from a family of teachers, and my mom's a teacher, my aunts are teachers, my great aunts are teachers, and I was like, nope. I don't want to be a teacher. I want to go out and I want to be a lawyer. And someday when I grow up, I am going to be a lawyer. I just need to figure out how to take 2 years off of working so that I can go back to school. But life happens, right? And so, like I said, I was super young when I started university. Teacher education was a program that I could do in my community of La Ronge. It wasn't going to be a high cost for me. And they were going to give me an apartment. Yeah, they gave me an apartment when I was 16. It was crazy, but I found a loophole in their policy. That's what else I found out, is I like finding loopholes in policy. And so as I went through my career and I started teaching, I took a year off and I backpacked Australia and I surfed every day, and I was like, I'm going to be an athlete. This is amazing. Well, I met my husband, and he had 2 daughters. And we changed our paths in our life to meet where we're at. And so I had a choice to make, right? So teaching fit that lifestyle. And it was the most beautiful choice I ever made, because then I got to see them grow up, but I got to have my own children as well. And teaching was the perfect gig because I had the summers off with my children. And while I was doing my teaching degree, I actually worked for the Saskatchewan government and the water bombers and realized they work too much in the summer. So I wanted a job where I didn't have to work in the summer. But like I said, I realized that I like finding holes in policies. I liked helping students achieve their goals, helping my peers achieve their goals. I liked seeing the success of Indigenous students. Northern Saskatchewan is near and dear to my heart, so anytime I can help out or influence or elevate Northern Saskatchewan, those are the things that I'm going to do. And honestly, people. I came to work for Gabriel Dumont Institute because of who their CEO is. Because I knew that he was genuine, I knew that he was going to be a mentor, and I knew that there was going to be opportunities there and that it was going to fit my family. So how long am I going to be here until I grow up? I don't know, but I'm really excited to grow up with Suntap.
I think for me, not too far from where you guys are all at, this is actually a full circle experience for me, because in my first year, I was sitting where you guys were watching everybody up here. And my second year, I was standing there being MC, and now I'm here talking in front of you guys. So this is a very full circle for me. And what I have thought, not at all. Do I like the yap? All the time. And just as we were watching our other speakers, I was looking at them and I was like, one day I'm gonna get rid of my notes and I'm gonna be able to just speak like they are. And so actually, like, yeah, I'm very in an awe moment right now of just, wow, I'm here kind of thing. Wow, I'm doing this, right? And so, you know, you guys could be there. You guys could do this. You guys could be in the same shoes, you know? I wouldn't say it doesn't take much, because it does take work, but you gotta be willing to put it in. You gotta be willing to do what you want for yourself for growth, okay? You're always growing, you're always gonna continue to grow. It's just what you want to do to keep on continuing to grow.
Thank you guys so much for the amazing questions, and I'd just like to give another round of applause to our panelists for their thoughtful answers. Those were fantastic. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'm going to invite the MCs to come back out and continue with the, I believe they're drawing prizes. So, have fun. Oh, I think some of you guys are drawing first. Are we? I'm not. Hayden? You wanna do something?
Just say your thing.
Say your thing, you got everything? All right. On behalf of everyone here today, I would like to sincerely say thank you to our panelists for sharing your time, experiences, and insights with us. Your willingness to speak openly about diversity, resilience, and leadership has been incredibly meaningful and impactful. We are grateful for the wisdom you shared and the perspectives you've offered, which will stay with us well beyond today's discussion. Thank you for being a part of our event.
All right, guys, prizes time. We have some people put in for the draws up top at the sponsorship booths. We have those prizes here right now, so I'll attempt to call out those names. First, we have Mara Carl. It's a water bottle. Yeah. It's gonna be an awkward walk up here. I'll meet you halfway.
Okay, next prize, it's a toque. I think there's a shirt tucked in it. This goes to Margaret Smith. Margaret Smith. Oh, there we go.
Next up, we have another toque and another shirt, I think. And this one goes to Ariel Morin.
Okay, next prize, we have a bag with, I think it's a shirt inside. The winner is Bridget Cook. There we go.
All right, everyone. Before we wrap up, it's time for one of the best parts of the day, our grand prizes. We rehearsed that, just so you guys know. First, we want to send a huge thank you to our sponsors for making today possible and for supporting post-secondary students in such a meaningful way. And a special shout out to our local Best Buy, whose additional support helped make these prizes extra exciting. Because of that support, we have five prizes for you guys tonight.
We rehearsed that as well.
Yeah, we did. I think it was 4 times, maybe 5. So, prize number 1 is a wireless waterproof speaker that not only sounds amazing, it also comes with a built-in light show to keep the vibes going wherever you take it. I didn't write that line either. That's somebody else making me say all this. Our second prize is a delightful gift basket kindly provided by the Gabriel Dumont Institute. Nobody's showing that one.
I can't carry them all.
It's all good. There we go. And then 3 laptops, perfect for classes, projects, late night studying, or whatever comes next in your post-secondary journey. Just a quick reminder before we draw. You'll need to be present to win, and you'll need to be able to prove you're currently enrolled as a post-secondary student in order to claim your prize. So once again, thank you to our sponsors and to Best Buy for investing in students and celebrating your hard work. And remember, next time you're looking for electronics, tech, or accessories, keep Best Buy top of mind. All right, let's get to our draw winners. So first up, drawing for our first prize, we're going to call up Cody Demaray for the first draw for the speaker. If Cody's around.
Cody Demaray.
It's okay. We're going to get Brent Belderall to draw for the speaker. All right. Yeah, I did. You can shake it again. She's in our class, Brent. We should know her. We know Madison. Unfortunately, though, I think if she's not here, we do have to pick another name. Yeah. So we'll get Brent to pick again. She's gone? One more, Brent. One more. Nobody wants free stuff.
This one?
Yeah.
Do I bring it or just come up?
You can bring it. Brent, want to announce the next one? You got this one? Yeah.
All right, next we have panel member Santana, who's going to be drawing the second prize for the gift basket. Santana? I guess I'll be drawing again. Or Kaden can. Yeah, Kaden's got it.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah, everyone like left.
Then, for our first laptop draw, we would like to call Marley Prue to pull a card for that, please. I think all the people we picked before are all gone, so it's just going to be me and Brent grabbing stuff. I hope you guys are okay with that. Brent's got it.
The winner of the first laptop goes to Hanson McCollum.
You just keep doing it. I got it. Then for our second laptop, you guessed it, no other than Brent drawn for us.
Second laptop goes to Brittany McKay. She's gone.
She went home.
I guess she doesn't get a laptop.
Redraw. I apologize. The rules say they have to be present to get the gift, so I'm sorry. So we'll get Brent to draw again.
Second laptop goes to Chantilly
Pastel. Jeez. Okay, nobody wants laptops. All right, one more, Brent. One more. Yeah, I think so. She's gone, just to confirm. Okay, we're gonna redraw.
Megan St. Pierre.
All right, one more laptop, Brent. One more.
Araya Tate. Just got an introduction here. All right, well, congratulations to those that won some prizes today. Hopefully you enjoy your laptop or gift basket. And that pretty much concludes everything for today. I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Your presence here truly made the symposium a success. Until we meet again, let's continue working together to support one another as students and future leaders. Safe travels, and don't forget to pick up your door prize on the way out if you have a winning ticket. Thank you again for coming.
Emphasis on the door prizes, guys. Please don't forget those, okay? We don't have to try and track you down, okay?